Come into Grant and Danny just after 3 o'clock. We are taking you up to 6:30 and Caps hockey tonight, perhaps for the final time this season. But the locals will do everything they can to make sure it's not. They are facing elimination in Game 5 here at home against the Carolina Hurricanes. We're at Capital One Arena. We are in sections 103 and 104 in the main concourse. So as you get into the barn tonight, come on by and say hello. We will be here until John Walton in pregame gets underway. Speaking of which, JW is going to join us in about 25 minutes from right now on site. He's going to come down from the press level where he's preparing for the call to break down tonight's game. Caps, Hurricanes, Game 5, Washington's got to have it.
Yeah, there's no way around that, right? I mean, that's what this is. This is your season is over, you make vacation plans, or you win and fight another day. That your back is against the wall, every cliche, every analogy you want to use. This is kind of unusual territory for the Capitals, honestly, over the years, right? It's usually you got a chance to put a team away, can you? Or you're going back and forth in a series. I can't remember being this far down to try to claw their way back.
Short show today, so no Beltway Blitz in an hour at 4, but we will be giving away DC Defenders tickets at the start of the hour. So in 55 minutes, if you want a 4-pack of tickets to see the Defenders take on Arlington, the Defenders, the best team in the UFL, 5-2, trying to punch a postseason ticket, make sure you're listening and ready to call right at 4 o'clock today. Guess we should start with the NFL schedule. That dominated the airwaves, the headlines last night. I know we had live programming on Odyssey DC deep into the evening. Danny, every team's got to come out with a funny video. They've got to get creative. They've got to have a celebrity comedian or some type of actor or actress involved, or they've got to do Minecraft. Or the Commanders went with, the roller coaster build release. Everyone's got to do something and try to get headlines and try to get everyone to get excited. Bottom line is we now know when the games are going to be played. Mm-hmm. We now know what games are worth traveling to based on time of the year. I am a sucker for the NFL schedule. It's turned into a monster event. I don't behoove the league of that. They are really good at generating coin out of everything. But last night was the Super Bowl for the social teams all over the league.
Indeed. They've been looking forward to it. I guess they have to have some advance warning. Otherwise, you can't, get a video compiled and put out there, in quick order. I mean, I'm sure it's like the last minute edit where you can actually put the name of the team in or something like that. But still, the main production has to happen.
Well, look at all the leaks.
Yeah.
I mean, the leaks don't happen because only a few people know.
That's right.
I mean, the leaks start trickling out generally the week of, almost 4 or 5, 6 days before the schedules are released. I think what generally happens is the team gets sent the schedule. It's on a need-to-know type basis with the football side of things. But then the social folks get involved too. And you got to sign off to not tell anyone, and it's all embargoed. But anytime that information starts getting disseminated around the building, things are going to trickle out.
Yeah, if there's enough people that know something, more people know something. That's pretty obvious. It's easy for one person to keep your secret, exponentially harder for two, and the math keeps going. But yeah, I mean, it's the NFL's undefeated when it comes to pretty much everything. This is another example of that, where they've taken something that used to be the most benign, boring, understood part of it. We've already known who the opponents are. It's just shuffling up the order and making sure that, there are a couple of primetime games here and there, that team wonders their bye week happen. It used to be this boring math equation. It's the ultimate word problem, right? Remember those from algebra where Sammy can't sit next to Ryan, who can't sit next to Steve, who can't sit next to Peter, who can, only has to sit next to Jill, and you have to figure out where everybody's seated. It's a giant pain in the butt, and that's now turned into this annual look forward to event. I mean, they stopped the NFL draft, had a couple of NFL personalities come out on stage and announce when the announcement would happen. Just unbelievable what this league has turned into.
So I'm ecstatic about the schedule for a lot of reasons, but notably the team that we've loved our whole lives is now an 8 team in the National Football League. And the team that we care the most about has now become, here comes the loudest car ever. That is the one thing about being in this concourse. I just want you guys to enjoy. He's like doing laps right in front of us. This guy. I don't know if it's a goat. I mean, he's literally, listen to this. How's it going? Good to see you. Yep. Everything looks nice and clean. Okay. I get the sense that won't be the only time we see that guy.
He's going to do laps last time.
Cool.
I saw it coming, and you're trying to do the show, and I know you're.
Well, I don't know if it picks up well enough. Like Darius would have to tell us. It's the loudest machine in the history of the world.
Loud.
Like here, this is what it sounds like to me. I don't know about you.
Go ahead.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Darius, does it pick up well enough, or is it like a distant sound? Everyone's like, oh, these guys can put up with that.
It's pretty distant for the most part. It's not that bad.
Really? All right, then we'll be professionals
Because I
next time.
can't even hear Grant talk, and I knew it was going to bug
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry. That was unprofessional.
Well, I think
That was-
what's
that's my
crazy is I sit here watching a Nats game for close to 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
I don't see a soul. There's not a machine. There's not a noise. There's nothing. It's just tumbleweeds. And then we go on and clinkety, clunkety.
Have they started? Now.
It's amazing. But anyway, they got an arena to prepare for a game tonight.
Absolutely.
So we'll persevere. But where were we? On the schedule. I love the schedule for two reasons. One, the team that we love is the IT team. Everybody wants a piece. National TV left and right. You're playing on holidays. You're playing standalone games more often than you aren't. That's amazing. But here's the second part. The second thing that I think needs to be acknowledged as far as, why I love the schedule. What's my favorite thing in the world to do? Watch NFL football.
Yes, it is.
I want red zone. I want the ability to flip around. I pay a lot of money for NFL Sunday ticket. It's the best when the Commanders aren't playing at 1. I like a Sunday night or a Monday night or a Thursday night because I get my football day. I get the chips, the dip, the Coke Classic. I'm sitting there in a recliner in the basement from 9:30 in the morning for the London game until 11 p.m. when it's all over with all day Sunday. We're going to get more of those days than ever before. I cannot wait
The
for
schedule is for you, I would say. I mean, to me, my favorite thing is the 1 p.m. start.
Isn't that mostly because they couldn't handle playing in prime time without embarrassing themselves? And
No,
those days might be behind us.
It's just the rhythm I like. It's the if there's badness, which, again, we have a lot of that over the decades. Recent goodness notwithstanding, but if there's badness, I've got more time to get over it. It's not the last thing that poisons my day. I've got other football. I've got fantasy. I've got DFS. I've got everything else under the sun. And I got the good football that I still kind of get when it's earlier on in the day. So the 1 o'clock is usually perfect. Whatever morning activities, kids, sports, run around, errands, put the feet up. That's the game. And then everything else is kind of cascading around that, right? Doing research, whether it's for the show or thinking about angles and different stuff. Just that 1 o'clock rhythm is perfect for me. But I understand that I may be in the minority there.
Late night Paulson, late night Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
I want night games.
That's your favorite. You would start them at midnight if you could.
Night owl, right? So I'm always going to be excited because I can't sleep after games anyway. If you play at 4 and I'm getting home at 9 and then I'm watching Sunday Night Football and it's over to 11:30, there's no chance I'm falling asleep before 1:30 anyway. Most of the time, late night after the end of the Sunday night game, I'm rewatching the Commanders game deep into the evening anyway. So we might as well just make a primetime weekly reservation. I'm good with that. But the opportunity, the amount of hours to watch non-Washington, D.C. based football on Sunday afternoon, I think is our highest hour count we're ever going to have.
It's up there. Because, again, it's not just the primetime games, which Kansas City leads the world, I think, with 7 official on the calendar. Washington's among a couple teams that have 5. But it's not just that. It's the standalones.
Yes.
Right? It's your Saturday or whatever. I don't know what they're calling the Sunday morning a primetime game because it's not in primetime.
No,
but it's
prime
the
time is
standalone.
a time of day.
Yeah.
It's 8 p.m. It's nighttime. Standalone is different. But the standalone is the whole point. The Thursday European kickoff in Madrid, Spain. The Saturday, if it's not at night, it won't be prime time. It could be a 4 o'clock game. But if they're playing on
it's the
Saturday,
only game on.
there's no other game on.
Right.
During the Christmas game, that's the case. So, yes, you've got to be good or else it's going to be embarrassing, a la the Jets a couple years ago where Rodgers gets hurt. It's a terrible team. Everybody watches them 7-8 times standalone and makes jokes about it every single time they do because they're dreadful. Nobody wants that. But assuming they're good and they win the majority of these games, that's amazing. And also, think about all the time on your butt, on your couch on Sunday without stress, without anxiety, just flipping around. You may not have even had to get red zone the last few years because there's just not enough Sundays where you're at home and the team's not on. This is a get your red zone season. This is you might even want to think about NFL Sunday ticket season.
It is red zone season. Smell what you're cooking there. Yeah, I mean, the case is made. To me, I still get plenty of red zone action. I still get all the things I want, whether it's commercial breaks or 4 o'clock windows and the like. But again, the primetime standalone, whatever you want to call it, only Washington and another team on TV, that day has arrived. That's the big takeaway.
Yeah, and it's not going away anytime soon. Here's some quirks with the schedule. So that's a couple of the things I really like about the schedule. Here's something I don't like about the schedule, and this is one of those data points analytically that every single year is kind of a hidden element of schedule breakdown. how often are you playing a team off of a bye? Because a winning percentage of a team spikes more so than any other metric when they've got more time to prepare than you do. Washington this year plays 4 teams coming off of a bye. That is a league high in the National Football League. 3 of those games are at home, which is nice because you don't have to travel, right? It would be great to sit back as long as possible, rest up, get to the stadium, sleep in your own bed all week long. It's worse when you got to travel and do it. But the Bears in week 6 on Monday Night Football, you want to talk about extra rest. A bye the week before that, and then the extra day for Monday night, getting ready for the Commanders. The Seahawks, Sunday Night Football, the entire day Sunday to sit around, a little more rest, several more hours, right? But Seattle, in that week 9 matchup, coming off of a bye. Same thing on the Broncos Sunday Night Football game, Denver in week 12. How about that? They're coming off of a bye and then have a nationally televised Sunday night game where they get all day long to sit around, and then the Giants on the road in week 15, the only time you're traveling, so it's not terrible. You're talking about the Meadowlands, right?
Hour flight up,
but
to JFK
still,
or whatever. Yeah,
you want one of those. You want 2 of those ideally. No other team in the league has 4 matchups with somebody coming off of an extra week of rest. That's a brutal happenstance.
Yeah, that's a negative.
That's a bad break.
I mean, you look at some of those things that the league tries to avoid doing, whether it's 3 straight road games or excessive travel or certain little non-rule rules or general practices. I would say every once in a while something happens that kind of forces their hand differently. But either that's a bad break or one of those things they said nothing we could do about it because that's just sort of where the chips fell. But it is kind of crazy that happened. I mean, nobody else has 4. I don't wonder how many teams have 3 in breaking it down when you look at it. But to lead the league in that category, that's not a good break.
The other thing that I always try to take note of is Thursday Night Football matchups. When you are playing a team on a short week, is that team home the previous week, or are they on the road and having to travel back? Because that's a bummer for them. Like, you're going there anyway, right? It's a Thursday Night Football on the road. So specific to Washington, Green Bay, here we go. Let's see how loud it is. Coming on through. Nothing. Bueller. There he goes. Thursday Night Football, Lambeau Field. Green Bay's home in week 1.
Yeah.
So
again, that's a negative.
That's bad. Like, if they were on the road coming back, then it balances out a little bit.
But this one doesn't. Again, these are the sort of Warren Sharp kind of turned me on to some of these bits of angles.
It's like the rest things. And look, you got to play football. At some point, they just kick off the football. The better team's going to win. This stuff matters or it doesn't. It's like the Caps and the Canes. We after game 1 said, the layoff really hurt the Capitals. The Canes had the same layoff. Didn't seem to bother them very much. So we'll either make it something or we won't. But you still would rather not play teams with 2 weeks to prepare.
Sure, and that's the point, right? You still have to play the football game. It doesn't guarantee anybody anything, a win, a loss, a completed pass, a tackle, or otherwise. But it's given a choice. I'd rather have it be the other way. I mean, if you're just asking me right now on paper here in May, would I rather the Packers not just be at home in consecutive weeks, with one of them being a short week for Washington after playing the Giants in week 1, division game, that they always seem to play Washington much tougher than the quality of the team? Like, no matter what, it's an ugly 1-score, if Malik Neighbors makes a catch, they win kind of game, right? Like it was early in the season last year. So you're coming off a divisional game, then you got to go on the road for a short week. That's a disadvantage. That doesn't guarantee anybody anything, good or bad. Simply saying that you stockpile enough of those things, if it doesn't break Washington's way, you could say it's an excuse. It'd also be an explanation for something.
So you got my likes, standalone games, extra time to watch Red Zone, and use my Sunday ticket that I pay a lot of money for. You got my dislike, number of games off of a bye, your one Thursday game with a team that was home the week before anyway, so there's no benefit there. I would even throw in as a like that the soft landing spot to begin the season with the Giants in week 1, not a pushover, no guaranteed wins in this league, but you should be able to get off to a 3-1 start if you're as good as we think you are. I think that's another positive. Give me your like and your dislike for this schedule.
I like the late bye. That's my favorite part about this schedule is the week 12 bye. I hate the idea, especially when you're finishing with nothing but divisional opponents down the stretch. Giants, Philly, Dallas, Philly. That's your final 4 games, rather. I don't like the idea of having the bye in week 5 like Chicago does, for example. I love that you get a chance to get everybody back as healthy as you're going to be heading into the must-have, got to deal with it, NFC plus NFC East stretch to either win the division, get to the postseason, etc. That to me is essential. I love that week 12 bye. Too often you get saddled with that week 4, that week 5, week 6, and maybe it's, works out for you at the time. But in general principle, if I was going to put it somewhere, I put it in weeks 10, 11, 12, and that's what we got. Thing I dislike real quick. 2 times they've got a heavy road slate interrupted by only one home game. From week 4 through week 8, one time at home, that's a Monday nighter against Chicago. 4 out of 5 times they're on the road there, whether they're going to do the Cincinnati, Arizona, stay over kind of bit, et cetera. I don't know. Then you've got that 3 out of 4 stretch, with the bye week, sort of sandwiching it there. But it's Miami, Minnesota, and the Giants. I know the Giants isn't that arduous of a trip, but still, you're traveling a bit extra. I love if, you're going to have one more road game than home this season. That's inevitable. That's just a bad luck of having a 17-game schedule, and this is that odd year. But I'd love more of those one on, one off, one on, one off instead of 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 5. 2 huge stretches in the middle of their season.
I got a tweet here from Kristen, who speaks my language, clearly listens to the show a lot and knows my proclivities, because she asks, do you think the amount of primetime games that they got is a harbinger for what might come with Hard Knocks? Danny, could this be the year the Washington Commanders, forming their 53 on home box office or home box office max?
Max. No, HBO Max. No, HBO Now. HBO Go? HBO Max.
You're looking for HBO Max.
That's what it is now.
Could this be the year? Dan Quinn releasing players. We're seeing it. Adam Peters wearing his sunglasses with his beard perfectly manicured on the sideline, mic'd up. Hard Knocks with the Washington Commanders.
I don't even dare to dream because they're so secretive. They don't even like the idea that people know what they had for breakfast.
It's not up to them. They can't say no.
Yeah, you're right.
The rules prohibit them from saying no.
They're going to ask to say, hey, can we say no? And then maybe someone else steps up and says yes.
They can do that. I don't get the sense there's a lot of teams volunteering anymore.
Mm.
If the league wants the Commanders, it's going to be the Commanders. And I think we know, based on what Kristen's saying as a harbinger here, the league wants the Commanders.
I seem to want them.
Might just happen. We want to talk to John Walton. We will
do
do that next. The voice of the Washington Capitals getting ready to call Game 5 tonight with the Carolina Hurricanes. We're live at Capital One Arena. Walton joins us next right here on The Fan.
I'm Toby Altizer with your sports update on the Fan. In baseball, the Nationals dropped 3 of 4 in Atlanta to the Braves. They lost today 5-2. They'll head to Baltimore to take on the Orioles for 3 starting tomorrow night. In hockey, the Capitals do or die tonight in Game 5 against the Hurricanes. 7 p.m. puck drop near the game right here on the Fan. Hurricanes lead the series 3-1 coming into tonight's game. Taking a look at the leaderboard for the PGA Championship, Ryan Gerard leads everybody at 5 under par. 4 players tied for second. Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, and Steven Yeager all at 4 under par. In the NBA tonight, Thunder and Nuggets at 8:30. Oklahoma City looking to close it out. They lead the series 3-2. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
Is brought to you by Ace Trim Carpentry. For over 25 years, Ace Trim's been a trusted trade partner for new home builders in the DMV. They specialize in full-service interior trim carpentry, and they handle everything from supply to installation. Turnkey, hassle-free. Contact acetrim.com today. Ace Trim's the home builders trade partner. Grant and Danny welcome you back. We're live at Capital One Arena ahead of Game 5 tonight of the Caps and the Canes, and the Caps need to win to keep their season going. They are down 3-1. And for the first time this postseason, they are facing elimination. John Walton will be on the call of the game right here on the Fan tonight, just after 7 o'clock. We'll drop the puck here at 7th and F Streets. And John joins us now. Raleigh didn't go the way any of us wanted. Caps come back, having given up too many goals, having lost both games, and facing elimination. Little State of the Union for us, if you would, on the series.
Yeah, I think the State of the Union is that there's things that went right. Not enough of them went right. And I think channeling what they did, starts of games were primarily good. Losing momentum, not good. Special teams need to be better. And on the whole, it sounds unbelievably elementary here, but they just got to score more goals. And to do that, I think just being able to, across the board, there hasn't been enough. And as Spencer Carberry told us this morning, 10% more across the board would be more than enough. If you can get a goal from Dylan Strome, if you can put Anthony Beauvillier back on that top line and you get something from him. Connor McMichael, honestly, I would have liked to have seen Connor at 3C a little bit sooner than tonight, only because he had been so good from the first shift of Game 1 against Montreal. I have loved what he's done offensively. And Eller struggled in the middle. So, I mean, to be able to find that offense and get the third line, fourth line where you've got Dowd and Duhaime and guys to the gritty, greasy ones, right? Along those lines. Those are things that are achievable. They are possible. This game, you can't look at it any more than, oh gosh, we got to win 3 games. No, you don't. You don't. You got to win 1. You have to win tonight. And then when you wake up tomorrow morning, you got to go win a game. That's it. And I'm going to tell you, if you can do those 2 things, the pressure is squarely back on Carolina, because if you can do that and force it back here on Monday night for Game 7, the pressure will shift by then. The pressure's on Washington, no doubt, of course, but I really believe with what they have in this team, they've lost 3 in a row once all season long. They've always been able to adjust. They've always been able to find an answer, and there's no reason to think that can't happen tonight.
John Walton, listen to his call of Caps hockey tonight in this gotta have it Game 5 for the Capitals at Capital One Arena right here on the Fan. That's coming up in 3.5 hours. John, you mentioned the change. McMichael to center on the third line, Eller out. I'm not alone, right? I'm not patting myself on the back, but I don't like saying this because he's a 2018 Stanley Cup hero. He has been the weak link, though. I mean, Eller has not helped them enough. I kept asking for about a week here what gives, and their point was they liked his defense. They liked him winning draws. How did we get here that now's the time to make the change? And I'm with you. Why not do it a couple games ago?
I can see and there are things that Lars does that are beyond offense. So I can understand through 3 for sure going into Raleigh, because you're coming off a win, right? You won in Game 2. you probably don't want to change things up too much. I can understand that you didn't really want to mess too much with that second line because a lot of the defensive effort in this playoff, Montreal and Carolina both, has been focused on Pierre-Luc Dubois. And who are his line mates? Oh, Connor McMichael's got one, and Tom Wilson. So I understand why it took a little while. I'm not sure before 4 I wouldn't have said maybe. And listen, I'm not here to talk. We've got the coach of the year here, and I'm me. So who am I? But when you need offense, and I think that's the reason for tonight, to be able to say, look, this team's not scoring, and we have to do something that makes this team come up with a few more chances, more goals. And I think with Michael, he's the perfect answer for 3C because he's been good at everything that he's done in this playoff in terms of offense. Getting Mangiapane going, who's been real quiet this series. Somebody for Ryan Leonard to play with because Ryan can skate. He's still figuring out the NHL game, but he can move and he can get some shot attempts off. So I like the idea of if you can get the third line going, and now you've got Protas that's going to play on the second line tonight and playing with Dubois essentially in the McMichael role.
It's the biggest line of all time, by the way.
My goodness. And they played a lot together.
That's the get off the bus team right there.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a line that they're very, very familiar with one another from this season. So it makes all the sense in the world, to be able to have this happen here tonight and just the offense that comes from it, you hope. I don't want to say, like as Spencer would said this morning about, if you get behind, it's not the end of the world. And it's not. But you need something to feel good about. And the best blueprint for tonight is get the first one, hopefully the second one, and make Carolina chase it for the first time since game 2. And I think this team would be in really good shape.
John Walton with us here. Live at Capital One Arena on Grant and Danny. So this is, I don't remember many series is like this one. Not that, the Caps have been outplayed, or I'm not even talking about that, but down 3-1. Usually this is, we're going back and forth. It's, oh my God, I can't eat, sleep, breathe, or do anything. We're headed towards the game 7. It's going to be some weird bounce or some kind of crazy thing. There have only been a couple of these. And usually when it happens, it's like, okay, they're kind of on their way out of the postseason. We sort of, the writing's on the wall. What's the vibe? You know what I mean? Just I'm thinking from the fan base, from the team, just kind of give me kind of the general state of the union there from those of us that have no impact on it, that are outside watching. I don't remember many of this. I kind of don't know what to do with my hands.
I was chuckling a little bit only because before 2018, you say, I've been in this position. Yeah, usually they're up 3-1 and find a way the other team would come back and win.
Please step on their throat. Yeah.
It is a little weird. And the series itself, Raleigh has proved to be a house of horrors 2 times over, going back to 2019 and now. Badly outscored. The games weren't as lopsided as they appeared, but they lost and getting behind and trying to come from behind, and special teams were an issue, and just overall lack of goal scoring has been an issue. So I really do feel, though, like when you're in the room, Dan, and you feel the vibe from the guys. Tom Wilson is always the guy when I hear that of like, well, what's the temperature of him? It's business. And I think that trickles down to everybody else in the room too, where they know the job at hand. I think for the young guys, getting that Rangers series last year was important because, they got punched in the mouth, but it was a good learning experience for them. And that's why they were able to adjust so quickly in the Montreal series. Look, game 3 in the Montreal series was not very good at all. And they turned around and won game 4 and game 5. I honestly thought, on the subject of the vibe, that game 4 was going to be better than it was. And in the first 7 minutes, it was. It's just that they weren't able to sustain it. And then I think when that double minor hit and Martinook goes off, and you're like, okay, this is your time. And it really wasn't. And that was the turning point that I think was a little tough, honestly, to shake off, because now the crowd's going and it's the end of the first period, getting into the second. And sure enough, they end up getting a goal right after that. And now you're playing from behind again. So just finding that seam to be able to get that lead, the vibe is there. I think they just have to take advantage of it.
John, it felt like Logan Thompson was incredible in the first 2 games at home. Almost stole game 1, and then they win game 2 thanks to him largely. I didn't think he was nearly as good in games 3 and 4. If you disagree, that's fine. You can tell me that. But how does he get back to what we saw here? Or do they get back to making him look like he did here?
2 things on that. First of all, I don't entirely disagree. He was good. I would not say great in game 3 and game 4. Gave up 4 goals in each. But the one thing that I've seen with him this year, that we've all seen with him this year, and Spencer Carberry's talked about a lot, is his competitiveness and, playing almost with that chip on the shoulder. I remember I had a conversation with him back in the fall, and this is when the Caps were still kind of surprising everybody, right? This is around mid-November. and the Caps are in first place or close to it. And everybody's like, oh, what's going on with the Caps? And no one really was paying attention yet. So the Caps weren't getting that A game that they were getting from every single team that they're playing second half. It's like, oh, Caps, this is a measuring stick. How do we do against Washington? They weren't getting any of that. They were just winning. But the mentality in the room, and I remember him saying something along the lines of, nobody thinks we're any good. Vegas got rid of me. We got 7 new guys. And they all performed so well as a team, and they almost did it, I thought, collectively with that chip on the shoulder. So earlier in the series, I asked Spencer that in an off-day presser, and he kind of smiled and smirked and gave me somewhat of a more general answer to it. But, yeah, there is some fuel there that they play with a chip on their shoulder even now. And I think for tonight, to get back to this evening, that's the mentality that Logan Thompson brings. That's what you're going to see tonight. He doesn't want to go out tonight. Vegas just went out last night. He would love nothing more than to backstop a team that, when the team that got rid of him's gone and went out quick in 5 games. He doesn't want to follow suit tonight. I guarantee you he doesn't. I guarantee you that his best of what we've seen in the series. I think we see that tonight. I really do.
So you mentioned game 4, the first few minutes. I think that's been a kind of a common theme is when they've had the run of play, you're not looking up the scoreboard at 2 or 3 goals or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And Carolina has converted. They deserve the lead that they've got. When will we know that tonight's different, right? As we're watching, if the Caps have the run of play, how will we be able to figure it out? Is it as simple as they scored a goal dummy, or is there something else?
When we were together before down the street, I said, if you were looking at shots on goal and you say, even if the game's even, and even it's 10-8 Carolina, but the shot attempts, the zone time, everything's relatively even. In my mind, that was a win, especially coming off of game 1 and the way things happened. Tonight, I think it's got to be a little more than that. You have to be able to come out and really punch him in the mouth and say, you know what? We're not going anywhere yet. And I think that mentality from the beginning, I think it starts with being physical. I want to see whether it's Alex or Tom Wilson or anybody lay the lumber a little bit. Come out and make it hurt tonight. Come out in the first 5 minutes and be able to extract a little bit and say, you know what, this is our house. And they've lost 1 game in this building this playoff year, and it was in overtime. It was to these guys, but it was in overtime. Nick Dowd ends up getting a shot away 4 minutes into overtime. They might be perfect at home. So they've done a great job of that. And I think to be able to do it tonight, be physical, number 1. Number 2, be able to generate more chances than them. Being even's probably not enough tonight because you're in the fight of your life tonight. You're being 10-9 Carolina, I don't want to see that. I want to see 11-8, 11-7 Washington. I want to see fewer chances in the other end, fewer zone time. You do that by being physical. You do it by taking the game to them in their own end. Put Orlov and Chatfield on their wallets back in behind the net, take the puck, set things up. Though that's an exploitable deep pair. I love Dima, but I mean, at times they've been able to exploit that. Do that. Make those guys hurt and be able to get pucks in front because Anderson's stopping at pretty much everything he sees the first time. You're going to need those second chances. You do that, you're going to get a couple goals. You get a couple goals in the first period, you're going back to Raleigh for game 6.
John Walton, pregame coverage is just about 3 hours away, and then puck drop after 7 o'clock here on the Fan tonight. You mentioned the physicality for the Capitals that's necessary. I want to get your thoughts on this observation. I don't remember a playoff series that has had less post-whistle snarl than this, ever. I'm talking about face washing and shoving and being separated and taking 2 to the box. I've never seen it this tame in my life before. It's almost to me like they're petrified of getting called a penalty or letting them go to the power play. But if you would have told me coming into this series, as much as these two teams hate each other, with 100 PIMs in a period less than about 5 weeks ago or whatever it was, I would have lost all the money. Is it that they can't hit what they're not in front of? Like the lack of physical just dominance over Carolina is shocking to me. But if you want to say, well, they're moving fast so they can't hit them in play, that's fine. After the whistle, there's nothing around the cage. The puck gets frozen. Nobody's bumped Anderson once. I've never seen this tame of a series in my life. Why is that?
I wish my partner here was here because Ken Sabourin would say to that how much the game has changed, and he would probably say not for the better as far as his concerned, but
like
that was his bread and
against
butter.
Montreal, to that point, there's not really any bad blood between. There was way more post-whistle stuff.
There were. I mean, I think that's right. I think there is, to an extent, you don't want the extra that's going to put your team down. And I think one of the things after game 3 against Montreal, where Tom Wilson spent an inordinate amount of time in the box.
Did he see the box that game? I don't
He
remember.
was, he was
first
in there a
was-
lot.
First, there was the fight in the actual box, not in the penalty
Yes.
box, but on the bench.
In the bench. One of the craziest things I have ever
He
seen.
was just
I've
opening
seen a
mail
lot of
in there,
things.
getting meals.
Right. Like I was like, they're fighting on the bench. And the best part, like Brock Miles, our longtime equipment manager, and is the best in the business. He's sitting there with a stick, like he's like, whoa, I gotta get away from this. And Spencer Carberry's back there. And even after the loss, and he wasn't happy about it, but even he was almost chuckling about it after the game. It's like, well, I wanted to leave, but there were 2 large individuals who were in my way.
Right.
So there was some crazy there. I think some of the go to school after game 3 was don't go over the line.
Gotcha.
And I don't know that Carolina really doesn't have that guy. Like Chatfield's a tough guy, but not like a big heavyweight kind of thing. Like, I mean, he's strong, but he's not a big fighter. or
Martinuk's a
anything.
little bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
but yeah.
right. No, absolute pain in the ass. But he's not a guy that, there's nobody that's going to challenge 43 on this team. And that's where I think some of the deterrent is, because if you're going to run around and do your thing a little bit, you're going to be, knock, knock, knock. Here comes Mr.
I
Wilson.
just feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I feel like they're at their best when there's a little bit of that, when they're after the whistle getting separated and
Get engaged a little bit with. I mean,
Exactly,
yeah. I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think they want to make sure that they're focused on the task at hand, where they got to generate more goals. However that happens against Anderson, first and foremost, if you get distracted by some of the sideshow stuff, and I think a lot of teams generally will do that this time of year, not that they won't happen and not that the emotion doesn't spill over, because Carolina wants this bad. They're trying to get to the 3rd round again. This will be the 3rd time since 2019 if they win tonight. And the Caps are a really good team, and they don't want to have this end after what's been an unbelievable season with unbelievable team chemistry, and these guys love each other, and they don't want it to end. So sometimes where those 2 things intersect, things get crazy. But I think for the most part, for the Caps, it is score goals. First, second, third. That's the job that needs to be taken care of here tonight more than anything.
Who's got to have a better game than they've had for them to keep playing?
A lot of guys. Anthony Beauvillier moving to the top line is intriguing to me. I loved him in the first round. He's back with Ovechkin and Strome tonight. So I think he's got to be able to elevate. He had that goal in game 1 of Montreal, but we haven't seen another goal since. He had some other points in that series. More from him. More from Andrew Mangiapane. He doesn't. We've seen glimpses, but I'm hoping that with McMichael and Leonard, there's some fresh juice there. There's some young legs too.
Is that the fastest line they've had all year? It might be the smallest too, but is that the fastest?
It's not big. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Second line, the guy that I really want to see, and this is grading on a curve a little bit because he has done such a great job and has been able to largely contain defensively. But we need a little offense from Pierre-Luc Dubois. He hasn't scored a goal this year in the playoffs. He's got 3 points. He's spending a lot of time. D-zone starts in it, and there's a lot of things that he's doing that are in the D-zone and that are in other places and doing a lot of things for this team. But you've got to get goals. I mean, you're not going to win if you don't score. And being able to have that second line, especially with you've got Protas on that line. He's been with him before. You got Wilson. Wilson's been pretty good. I think he's a good place to look for offense. I don't necessarily need more from 43, but I need something from that line. If you get a goal from every line, if everybody can contribute, this has to almost be one of those nights where, hey, the top line, what they do, they got a goal from Strome. What the second line do? Dubois chipped in. What the third line do? Ryan Leonard came up with his first goal of the postseason. Fourth line, hey, look, Duhaime was able to come back and on a nice feed from Dowded. Hey, and the D chipped in. It was Chikrin or something. I mean, that's the kind of night this has to be, that you're looking all over the sheet and saying, you know what? They all came through for 2 reasons. One, because you push your season to a game 6. Number 2, because now you've got a lot to think about if you're Carolina going back to Raleigh.
I need you back in Raleigh. I need you on the call
Yes.
and working on Saturday night. So let's get one more goal than them tonight. John Walton, boys and girls, make sure you're listening 3 hours from now when pregame's underway and then when they drop the puck just after 7 here on The Fan. Thank you as always.
Great to see you, fellas. Thanks for having me.
You as well. There's John Walton. Next, NFL analysts nationally are trying to create a conversation about something happening that I don't think would have a whole lot of support in D.C. We'll explain next on The Fan. Welcome back to Capital One Arena. We are live ahead of the Caps and the Canes today, taking you up to about 6:30. Grant and Danny on the Fan. We've got a Metropolitan Moving and Storage poll of the day available for you on the 1067 The Fan Twitter account right now. Metropolitan Moving and Storage, our daily poll. Local, long distance, residential, commercial, 3 decades of best-in-class service and experience. Danny, the poll of the day. How are you feeling about the amount of standalone games the Commanders have for the 2025 NFL season? I'm in love, like Buddy the Elf, baby. 49% of you love it, 11% of you hate it, and 40% of you don't care and just want the team to win. That's a cop-out answer, by the way.
Yeah, it is. I generally, I don't like the people that fill out a poll and say I'm undecided or I don't have an opinion on that.
It's like putting results.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just here to eavesdrop.
So if I had to pick one, I don't hate it, but that's what I picked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm okay. I'm a little nervous. I'd like some primetime games. Like, give me a couple. But 7 or 8 standalone games with the possibility of more getting flexed down the stretch if everybody's good like we think and they're as important as we think they are. I don't know, man. Just feels like a lot. Just a lot. That's all. And I just like them Sunday at 1.
The more Sunday football non-Commanders that I get to enjoy on the couch, Red Zone, Sunday Ticket, and otherwise, the better. So give me all of the standalone games. I'd sign up for those. I'd like to play at 9:30 in the morning every single week, even at Landover. Why not? Let's just get out there, eat some bacon and some eggs and some football, and do this thing together.
Sorry, I just opened my mouth from the worst case scenario. Sorry. Yeah.
There is something I would hate, though.
What's that?
It's this angle that your boy, Adam Schefter, keeps pushing.
Here's what I'm thinking.
I saw Mike Greenberg's on this now, too.
Mm.
Have you seen the developing story that ESPN has been trying to push, that the NFL would benefit from a draft lottery? Now, it's the wrong week to come to Washington, D.C. to reference this.
Not up in here.
But Schefter's been talking and tweeting about this. Greenberg on Get Up today had a segment on this. Should the National Football League consider a lottery in the NFL? I mean, this is the easiest hell no of all time for me. This is with the quickness, a Dikembe Mutombo block at the rim and then wagging my finger in front of somebody. I think baseball going to the lottery, the way they've set it up, is terrible. I think basketball, as you saw again, has completely screwed up the process of the rebuild and teams trying to get good when they're bad. Now, lotteries in and of themselves, I'm not like a full stop out on lotteries. I just think that you've got to skew the numbers to really, really help the bad
We've gone
teams.
too far.
So if you wanted to do a lottery and it was the bottom 2 or 3 teams, one of them's getting the number 1 pick, but you can't just guarantee yourself that. I wouldn't like that as much as what they currently do, which is just in the reverse order. I wouldn't touch it at all. But I would take that over what the NBA does, which is, hey, you could be the worst team 5 straight years, and there's a really good chance you're going to be picking between 3 and 6 every single year.
7 straight years, the worst team hasn't gotten the first pick. So congrats, I guess. That's what we wanted.
Why are people trying to do the bad thing in more leagues? I don't understand.
Well, the
obsession incorrectly with tanking.
That's what it is.
People can't help themselves.
It is the obsession, and I'm not sure. Like, there's again, this is so hard to quantify. I'll do my best though. If you just grab 10 sports fans, right, a random sampling of 10 sports fans, I think 3 out of 10 are sitting there yelling anytime a team tries to rebuild, right? And they're you have to play to win the games, and they'll just yell Herman Edwards crap at you and stupid cliches and whatever, and they can't get over it. They can't get past it. Whereas the rest of us are going, here's the thing, when they try to do it your way, Wizards fans, for 50 years, they suck, and it never works once, and try something else one time, maybe. But no, they're like, you have to win. It's the plane you're playing. Yes, the goal is to win big, not win a little, not win 33 games, not run Bradley Beal into the ground for a chance at the 34th win and maybe a play-in a crappy East. That's not the point. The point is a championship. The point is the parade. And the rest of us can kind of go, yeah, if you're going to be bad, why not be bad on your terms where you're trying to develop for something in the future instead of having a rudderless hamster wheel spinning for decades of my life? But the 3 out of 10 are so loud, are so upset, are so bothered every second of every day at the idea that it may not be the most important thing to win right now, to lose a battle, to win a war. They can't do it. And thank God they're not in charge. I'm sorry, Grant. Thank God they're not in charge of any policy. Thank God they're not in charge of any kind of strategy where you can't give away an inch in the battlefield. Well, what about to win this war? No. You have to send everybody in and win everyone, and then that'll work itself out. Thank goodness you're not in charge of anything at any point in time.
Well, you're also fixing a problem that doesn't exist if you're trying to bring the lottery to the NFL. The reason they have the lottery in baseball and the lottery in basketball is because there is actual, you guys call it tanking, I call it rebuilding, just your own design. But that's not a thing in the National Football League. The Titans didn't go 3-14 last year because they wanted to be terrible. The Titans went 3-14 last year because they missed on their draft pick of Will Levis, because they don't have a quarterback, because they had a first-year head coach, and we still don't know if he's any good, Brian Callahan. But it's going to take a year or two to figure that out, I guess. But they were 3-14 on accident. The Giants last year went 3-14. I promise you, with Joe Shane post Hard Knocks,
they thought they were pretty good.
A former coach of the year who's now on the hot seat, Brian Dable, they did not try to go 3-14. If we go 3-14, we could pick in the top 3. We can get Abdul Carter. That was not the plan. They just happened to stink. The Browns went 3-14 because they are right now in the purgatory that comes when you are wrong at quarterback and you give out the worst contract and you make maybe the worst trade in the history of the league. The Patriots were 4-13 because they had a head coach who was completely overmatched and didn't belong. We saw pretty quickly in training camp into the regular season, and because they were under-talented at almost every single position. That's why those teams stunk last year. There's no tanking in the National Football League. And if there's no tanking, there should be no lottery. So absolutely not. Move along. Enough with that terrible conversation. But it's ESPN that keeps pushing it.
Well, yeah, and it's come from somewhere, by the way. I think it's a trial balloon. I think because they're partners with the NFL now.
I think they're just terrible at coming up with topics other than
I don't.
LeBron.
I think this is coming from somewhere. I think that I think Adam Schefter, his shoulders hurt every day from carrying water for various people in the league, and that's where this is coming from. I think it's a trial balloon.
I don't think it works like that. Maybe you're right, but I don't think the league is reaching out to Schefter and saying, "Hey, will you put this out there so we can see what people say?" I don't think those conversations are happening very often. All right, next, let's get into the Commander schedule, Danny. We're not doing a Beltway Blitz today because it's a shorter show. We're taking you up to 6:30. We got on after Nats baseball. But the Commanders schedule is out. You and I stumbled into a back and forth on whether or not we would accept 10 wins sight unseen, or would you rather see what's behind the door and let the season play out? In other words, like, how much confidence do you have in Washington repeating last year with a harder schedule? We'll get into that next, live from Capital One Arena. Caps Canes tonight, just after 7 here on The Fan.
I'm Toby Altizer with your sports update on the Fan, and this update is brought to you by Prince George's Community College. Big game for the Capitals tonight is .30 tonight. In just 16 weeks, the Team Builders Academy can jumpstart your career in construction, energy, or utilities. Train for high-demand jobs and start building your success. Visit us at pgcc.edu and enroll today. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
On site at Capital One Arena ahead of Game 5 of the Caps and the Canes, where Grant and Danny were in sections 103 and 104 in the main concourse. So when you get into the building, before you go to your seat, come on by and say hello. We will be right here.
What are you doing to protect your family's assets? As the exclusive sponsor of our show, the law firm of Condori and Morad can help you draft your last will and testament, set up a living trust, or put together a medical power of attorney. Schedule a free consultation with their attorneys today by visiting kmlawyers.com. Be sure to let them know that we sent you. That's kmlawyers.com.
Did you see the texts being fired off today by our friends at Condori and
So
Morad?
I have not caught up. I had baby duty all morning until my mother-in-law took over, kind of the middle of the day. So I'm not totally caught up on things, but I'm seeing notifications pop up as I'm giving the little guy some milk. What's going on?
Sounds like the fellas are into the possibility of a show field trip to Lambeau Field
Yo, okay.
for Thursday
Right.
night football in week 2.
All right.
And there's some scuttlebutt, if we're interested, of a secondary trip to Monday Night Football's Arrowhead Stadium site and a matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, wow.
Now, they've also just thrown out some bait on a hook saying, I know you guys want nothing to do with Madrid, but ... So here's the deal, just to peel back the curtain a little bit. I like to go places. I like being out and about.
Oot and a boot.
Going to games is fun for me, right?
Yep.
It's also work. I also think we should go to games because that's where the work happens. You're more informed when you go to games and lock in, when you go to the locker room or the clubhouse or whatever. Danny is more of a, I would say, watch from home guy.
Yeah.
So they know who they're dealing with.
They know who you are. Yeah.
Because on the text message, they're like, I think Lambeau's a good trip. If you guys want to, we could also do Kansas City, ... Danny, ? And then they basically were like, I heard you guys talking about Madrid. It doesn't sound like you're that in, but we could figure that out. Like, let's talk about it.
Man.
Danny, I got a feeling you're kind of like a Lambeau and you're good kind of guy.
No, see, here's the thing. I don't mind going to games, going to places I've never been, going to cool cities. Like, I've never been to, I'm trying to think of a Nubs place. Like, I've never been to, like,
Boise, Idaho.
yeah, I've been to Jacksonville. But if I'd never been to Jacksonville, I wouldn't be like, dude, we got to see Jacksonville before I die. I think that about Lambeau.
So you think, can we get that put on social? Danny thinks Jacksonville's hard thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell people Jacksonville's Nubs. Ponte Vedra Beach in and around Jacksonville is awesome. The rest of it's a giant strip mall with alligators. Sucks. It's a sprawling, stupid landmass, and I hate it. One of my least favorite cities that we have.
Wow.
But like,
I've seen some of my favorite Cops episodes based in Jacksonville. It's always like the neighbor without his shirt on who's like riding a bike.
now
for
this is
some
on
reason.
Cops.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I'm kidding.
Cops,
Yeah.
shirtless, dude on a bike in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Cop pulls him over.
Mhm.
And oddly enough, and I know this is crazy, He's up to no good.
Shenanigans from this guy.
He's getting into some mischief and some tomfoolery.
I am stunned by that. But yeah, so Lambeau's on a bucket list for me as a sports fan. I still like sports, by the way. I really want to go see it. It's up there with some of the ballparks that I wanted to visit. I got to go to World Series games at Fenway. I got to go to Wrigley finally. I'd never been until we went there for the division series.
Was that your first Wrigley?
I'd never
experience?
actually been
I
to
don't
Wrigley. I
remember
mean, I'd walked by it before, but never got to go in as part of a trip. So that was, great time in Chicago. That was awesome. I got to go to whatever it's AT&T or Pac Bell. I can't remember the name of the stadium in San Francisco, which was a bucket list thing for me. Been to PNC Pittsburgh.
So
there's plenty
I'm
of
not
places.
doubting your Lambeau.
That's where I want to go.
Right.
Kansas City would be cool too, but like if I didn't know that I just get to pick every trip. So I was thinking, hey, it's going to be one. I want Lambeau to be the one.
No, but if the good people at the law firm
Mm-hmm.
of Condori and Murray,
Now, is there a website that goes with that?
camlawyers.com,
Thank you very much.
the official show sponsor of the Grant and Danny radio program, if their goal and their thought is 2 trips,
2 trips.
Lambeau and Arrowhead,
Hell yeah.
I got 2 thumbs. I'm pretty fired up about that.
Yep.
Is that something that Danny Rouillet would make work?
Mhm.
Or is that a scenario where that's one too many for old Mr. Houtier?
No, that's good. I mean,
Okay. Now, what about Madrid?
now that's a big one. I would guess that would probably.
I think that's where the line would get drawn by like our bosses, where they're like, listen, we're already kind of annoyed that you guys are doing something fun,
Yeah.
even though we don't have to pay a penny, but you guys are happy about it. So we're already a little bit salty.
That's enough of that, right?
You don't need to be having fun in another country. I think that's how that would go.
Well, but also the broadcast challenge therein, right? I mean, it's.
We have so many partners. You don't know about the Odyssey Madrid situation?
Well, it would be Odyssey.
Stop, guys.
I'm just saying.
I'm so
In the
mad.
Castilian, it would be Odyssey.
No.
I'm just saying.
Stop.
It's one part audacious.
One part bold.
Audacious and bold. So
No, what is it? It's Odyssey. One part Odyssey and one part audacious. Right?
I'm not even sure anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that would if we're doing 3 trips, that becomes a lot. But again, if it's like the thing that everyone should probably understand about me is that if it's for work, that's always fine.
It's always for work when it involves the sports teams in town.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like if it's for work, like it's my wife is understanding. When it's just me being like, hey, me and some buddies are gonna be gone for 10, 12 hours
But
on Sunday.
when has that happened?
It doesn't happen. That's my
Okay.
point. Though, and that's why I don't do it for the most part. Because
Right.
that's like, hey, I know you deal with everything. You do 99 things for every one thing I do, and I want some kind of medal every time I do the one thing. And I want some congratulations. And you work incredibly hard, and you do everything, and I don't.
This is me talking to my wife. you
Yeah,
said?
no, this is me.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going to screw around for hours at a time and be out of pocket. Is that and just dump some more stuff on you?
I got a
That's the thing I can't do. But if it's for work, it's like totally
for work.
understood. Yes.
I got a text from somebody on the Commanders front yesterday.
Yep.
When we were talking about Christmas, and we were discussing the going to Landover for
Mhm.
the Christmas Day game, and they're like, "Of course you'll be able to get out of family responsibilities, and everyone will be understanding. It's your job. Don't worry about it." And my wife's very understanding. That's true. It's also me to some extent. There is a guilt part
Oh
of it
yeah,
where she's going to have at that time 4 kids, man.
4 kids.
1 baby. That's like months old baby.
Oh yeah.
That thing's coming in July. So by the time Christmas rolls around, there's some math I need to do. Maybe like a 5-month-old type baby,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got 3 other kids?
And it's not like they're self-sustaining babysitting kids either.
No.
You don't have like a 15-year-old in there with a big spread.
By the
You
way,
know?
did my discussion yesterday, I don't want to say I got a lot of heat, but there were certainly some people that seemed to take
There
it the
was
wrong
some
way.
warmer temperatures from. Yeah.
Some warmer temperatures. Did people take my complaint about the Christmas Day game yesterday as media guy not wanting to go cover a game?
I think the lazy interpretation was
Okay.
that.
That's not what that was for the rest. Like nobody, you know this from working with me.
Mhm.
Nobody goes to more games. Nobody's happy to go to more games. I love going to games.
There is seriously no one I know that goes to more games.
Right.
With the obligations that you have.
I love
Yeah.
going to games. It's not work. It is. It's part of the job, but it's
Mhm.
also what I enjoy doing. You'll never hear me complain about that.
Mhm.
My take on not wanting to be at Northwest Stadium for Christmas was from the perspective of a fan with a family and kids. To leave people behind who go to the game,
Mhm.
you're going to do that 10 times in a season or whatever. I'd just rather one of them not be Christmas Day. It was not a complaining media member thing, which I think some people took it to be.
Right. Which I
'Cause
understand.
I also get annoyed by that when I hear like the Tony Kornheiser thing of people are like, you expect me to stay up and watch the Caps game tonight? Yeah, guy that talks about it tomorrow on the radio. I expect that.
I certainly do.
You expect me to to go to a Nets game once a season or so? Yeah, actually. Like, you're going to give your take on James Wood at some point, right? I'm all in on that. I'm there all the time. I'm with you.
The thing that I never liked when I was on the other side, as just a regular person consuming the sports and the media and the things like that.
Content, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a content consumer.
Yeah.
It always used to irk me when it's like, hey, I can't go to every game, man. I don't have the money to, or I don't have the resources at the time, or I got obligations. I got to work extra jobs just to be able to pay my rent every month, whatever it is, right? I never liked the grousing and complaining with all the free stuff. You know what I mean? Where it's like the guy, when I used to love to go to then Redskins games,
right,
where like media guy would be like, you believe the free food I got in the press box wasn't the best free food I've ever had when I sat for free and parked for free and entered the game for free and watched the team that I love for free? What a miserable time. That always bothered me.
Yes.
That irked me. And I think if people weren't paying attention and didn't understand the point that you were making, which I understood very well.
Right.
I think the laziest game of telephone interpretation of that might have been Grant's complaining about going to a game.
Yeah.
You weren't at all.
No,
But you know what I'm saying?
But I'm also open to the possibility, like we talk every day for 4 hours,
Yeah.
4.5 hours, the only show in town that long, like we're Mike Francesa or something. And I'm happy to do it. It's not a real work. We're not digging ditches. We're not, pushing boulders up hills. So it might have come out that way. What I was saying, I wasn't even speaking from the perspective of covering a game as much as going to a game from the perspective of fans.
Yeah.
Tailgate Ted and I were tweeting about this, and he felt the same way. Like, to leave your family on Christmas and go to the game is just not ideal.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's not a cool thing that they're playing on Christmas. It would be super cool if they were playing at Dallas at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock. It'd be like Thanksgiving 2.0. I always want them to play on Thanksgiving.
So I guess where I'm going is that there to me is they're big chasm, a Grand Canyon style chasm between your point about, hey, Christmas Day is a pretty special day in our family. That's kind of the main crux of your.
I would say it's not quite specific to my family. That's pretty much an everything thing.
I'm just trying to say from your perspective, like, hey, that's a big deal for us. Some people, it's not that big a deal. It's like open presents the night before, and we have some eggs, and then I can do whatever I want and go to the game.
I just love the acting like it's May 9th. It's like if you were to say 1 out of 365 days, that's a bad day to schedule something. What would it be? Yeah. The number one pick in that draft is Christmas.
So I'm just saying, there's a chasm that I think should be acknowledged between your point, hey, Christmas is pretty special, and the Chris Russell school of the NFL is a greedy Gila monster that's reaching into my pocket and torturing me, and anything that's done is a personal affront to me, the guy that goes to games and is somehow persecuted by it. I think there's
so I haven't heard his take on. If that's what he's saying, I haven't heard that. I don't want to throw him under the bus just because I haven't heard it. But yeah, if that was how it came off yesterday, that certainly wasn't the goal. But I have ranked 1 through 9 the road games this year in the order of how interested I would be in attending them.
Okay.
This is like a road game draft, if you will. Okay. So they have 9 road games. The number one game I would most like to go to on the road is Lambeau Field. Very easy to explain. That's football heaven. That place is the best. And I will say one more time, if you haven't been, that needs to be your trip this year. It is awesome, but you got to do it right. You can't just, stay in Appleton, Wisconsin in a hotel and then go park at the stadium. You need to park in someone's yard. You need to give them $20. You need to eat a crock pot food out of their garage. You need to go to the bathroom in their toilet. You need to make friends with the locals. That's what I want you to do in Lambeau. Number 2, Arrowhead Stadium, Monday Night Football. I think this one's probably specific to me a little bit because
you've never been.
I've never been. There's like 5 stadiums I haven't attended, and that's one of them. I've been in the parking lot a bunch because I've gone to tons of Royals games covering them in the playoffs for MLB Network Radio over the years. And the parking lots are basically adjacent and shared between Kauffman Stadium and Arrowhead Stadium. But I really, really want to see a game at Arrowhead. It's also the Chiefs. It's also Mahomes. It's also primetime. It's the guy, Mahomes, and the guy chasing him after 1 year, Daniels. That one's pretty good, I think. It's hard to mess that up. You'll notice, though, Madrid has not shown up on my list.
You have not said Madrid yet.
I put Madrid 3rd just because I thought I would get too much heat if I put it lower. But as I think about it out loud right now.
You have to fly over an ocean, Grant. You okay with that?
No, I'm not. Let's all make a big fun joke about it. Like, no, I don't want to do that badly. But U.S. Bank Stadium, home of the Vikings. 1 p.m. kick on a Sunday.
That's a December kickoff, though, my friend.
Eating
December
a
in
Juicy
Minnesota.
Lucy.
Now, the entire reason to go is the Juicy Lucy.
You
But
could
you're
do
talking-
a Juicy Lucy on a Friday night, a Saturday afternoon, and then on a Sunday morning.
The answer is yes. I'm doing all three, but it's a December in Minnesota.
But here's
Don't
what you're
sleep
forgetting.
on that.
Indoor stadium. Okay,
You're not walking indoors to get there.
I understand. They do have jet walks and stuff, depending on where you stay downtown. But you're right. I'm going to deal with cold in
It's
Minnesota
going to be
and Denver.
cold.
But that's the number one stadium in America. There is not a stadium that more people have told me that I have not been to over the years that I need to go to more than that in terms of football.
I wish they were playing there earlier. in
It's
the
kind
year
of like
for
the
that
San
trip.
Francisco or the Pittsburgh. You know,
mhm.
it's like the one you've got to go see because it's the state of the art. Everyone's trying to do what they just did stadium. And if you don't go now, when do you go? So I actually, if that was not in December, I would have that third. It's because it's going to be -4 degrees outside in Minnesota that I've got that fourth behind Madrid. Madrid would be one if I could teleport, I think,
You can't teleport though, right?
because I've been to Lambeau a few times.
Yeah.
If I could touch a button and be in Madrid, Spain, that's number one. But I cannot do that. I have to fly for 6 hours over top of thousands and thousands of feet of water. So that's not as fun for me.
No, that's a challenge. Okay.
SoFi Stadium in LA, playing the Chargers, fifth. Never been to SoFi. Didn't they spend $5 billion on that joint?
I think so.
Supposed to be a marvel.
Didn't Kroenke do it himself?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Supposed to be an absolute marvel. They hosted the Super Bowl there. Carpet, beautiful, open air on the sides, breeze coming in. I want to see a game there. I put the Giants sixth over Atlanta, Dallas, and Philly. And you're going to go, I don't like that. Here's why. Number one, all you got to do is take a train. Very easy travel. Number two, Christmas time in New York.
Yeah.
You've lived in New York before.
That's right.
Did you guys know that about Danny?
Yeah.
Danny, Christmas time?
It's wonderful.
It's like December 14th-ish.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. I'm going to go have a nice dinner at a nice French restaurant. Get a little, what's the thing where they put the fire on the top of the dish? The dessert? They put a
Little flambe situation.
like a
The mousse.
creme brulee.
Creme brulee.
Little flaming creme brulee
The creme
thing.
brulee.
That French restaurant you sent me to?
Yeah.
I didn't have a jacket, and I walked in. They'd hand me a jacket.
Place was awesome, wasn't it?
That was, my wife still talks about it
Uh-huh.
14 years later.
Uh-huh.
I got to go back there.
All about that. Yeah. Now you got to deal with if there was snow before and the snow melts a little bit, those like standing water puddles on the sides of roads.
Yuck.
That's the only part about that's not great. But yeah, you're getting around. You're gonna do the touristy stuff. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want.
New
That's
York
the
City
beauty.
in the winter, though, acknowledge
It's gorgeous.
pummels New York City in the summer
Oh, 100%.
Pummels.
Oh, it's not close.
because it doesn't stink terribly.
Oh, it's not close. And dude, people don't understand. In the winter, in between all those tall buildings, the wind whips. It is the windy. It's like that in Chicago. It's like it cuts right through you. It's so cold. But in the summertime, for whatever reason, the air can't move. It's trapped. You feel like you're in a prison of heat and swampiness
Yeah.
and moisture and mosquitoes and New York in the summer sucks.
so
Just like DC.
so then I've got Falcons and Atlanta after that, Jerry's World, and then the Eagles last. What did I get wrong?
Here's my list. Lambeau, yes, we agree. My number 2 is Atlanta. I want those cheap concessions. It's an easy trip. It's an easy little trip, but I want to see
So
Hall of Famer Arthur Blank in his element. I want to see what got him into the Hall of Fame.
You're putting the Falcons trip second,
Yes.
so that you can get a $2.50 hot dog.
Number 1, yes. Number 2,
It is also a silly stadium that they host everything in.
and it's a pretty cool yard. I'd like to see a win. There's a great chance at a win
Mm.
going there. I like the team's chance to win. That's a good one.
But you ever been to Atlanta?
Plenty.
Eh.
Oh, Atlanta. Not even It's
So you're out on Atlanta.
Atlanta stinks.
I don't know if I'm out, but it's just not that fun for me. You're making it your number 2 destination of
Number
the
2.
season.
I want cheap concessions and a win. Number 3, Madrid.
What if I just paid the extra $30 for your concessions? Where would it rank?
It'd be
If you
different.
weren't
It'd be
paying
lower.
for your concessions,
it's
by the way,
my-
this is the cheapest Danny Rouillet thing ever that the Falcons are
It's
doing.
but my shtick answer, but also kind of my real answer. It is my rabid curiosity as to what made Arthur Blank Ring of Honor worthy. Show me what you've built. I want to go see this Hall of Famer.
You'd
Got
be
him
impressed.
before Julio Jones did. You know what I mean? Like, let's go. Number 3, Madrid. Number 4, Kansas City. Number 5, you touched on it, New York City in the Christmas time. Number 6, Minnesota. The stadium's intriguing. It's in Minnesota in the winter.
So if it was September, it's much higher up.
It would be 2.
Okay.
It'd be just behind Lambeau.
Even though you might have to pay like $11 for your concession.
I don't care about that. I'm not
It
paying.
seems like you do.
I'm not buying anything. I'm not buying a single concession. I'm buying Juicy Lucy's everywhere.
Okay.
It should be the burger for the country. The fact that every city is not just pummeling the Juicy Lucy is irresponsible. It's unbelievable. So that's number 6. Number 7, and this is kind of the I don't really want to do this trip. 7 is Philadelphia because it's so easy. It's just a quick train. 8 is LA. That's across the entire nation. Fart noise. I hate LA.
But you haven't been at the beautiful SoFi Stadium.
Don't care.
Okay.
That doesn't do anything for me at all. It's so far. Coming back is even worse.
So
It's
9's Jerry's
you
World?
lose 2 days, and I never want to go to that place. I have no interest ever.
You haven't been yet?
No.
It's
I like to be toes up with people saying nice stuff around me, hopefully. A couple stories here and there. Maybe everybody cracks a joke and says something funny that I did. And they say their nice goodbyes, and then they have a meeting where they divvy up my limited assets. I like to be cold and dead in the ground without ever having visited Jerry's World.
What's your number 1 pick in the draft for where you'd want to see a road game this year? And what would be your last pick? The place you'd least like to travel to this season. So my list is number 1 pick. We're going with a Lambeau Field visit, and my last pick would be going back to Lincoln Financial Field. I'm good.
Yeah, Lambeau, boring, so we both have the same one. My other one's in the top, Atlanta and Madrid. And last forever is Dallas.
Grant and Danny on the Fan.
I'm Toby Altizer with your sports update on the Fan. Do or die tonight for the Washington Capitals as they take on the Hurricanes in Game 5 of the series. The Canes up 3-1, 7 p.m. puck drop at Capital One Arena tonight. You can do the game right here on the Fan as the Capitals look to stay alive. PGA Championship update atop the leaderboard. Ryan Gerard and Cam Davis both at 5 under par. Gerard done with his day. Cam Davis through 13 holes. Just behind them at 4 under par, Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, and Steven Yeager. Rounding out the top 10, Alex Noren, JT Poston, and a couple of others at 3 under par. Scotty Scheffler currently at 2 under par. In baseball, the Nationals lost earlier today to the Braves 5-2. They've lost 8 of their last 9 games. They'll stay on the road and begin a 3-game series in Baltimore against the Orioles tomorrow night as a part of Major League Baseball's rivalry weekend. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
He's Danny. I'm Grant. This is the Fan. Welcome back, and thanks much for making the show part of your day. We are live at Capital One Arena. We'll get you a preview of the Caps and the Canes next hour. We're taking you up to 6:30. Got to get you a Caps to score a goal draft in the final segment today at 6 o'clock as well. By the way, the Commanders are favored in 12 games this season based on the schedules and the initial odds that came out.
Wow.
Last night, I saw this via Neil Greenberg, our buddy from the Washington Post. Opening lines released, I think it was via DraftKings for him, but you can look anywhere, and they're pretty comparable. If it stands right now and opens the season the way that it looks, the dozen games where Washington's favored at kickoff would be the most for the team since 2000, when they had 14. Now, that year, you'll remember, their head coach got fired, Norville Eugene Turner, with
Yes, of course.
3 weeks to go. They finished the season 8-8 under the Terry Rabinski regime.
Rabinski.
He went 1-2 down the stretch in December. But the 99 team, my favorite team ever, number 2 in offense, got to the playoffs and got a win at home against Detroit. Went to Tampa Bay. They were up 13-0. They were on the precipice of the NFC Championship game before they lost 14-13. Then they go into the offseason. That was Snyder's first year as the official runner of the organization. He spent $100 million, mostly on over-the-hill guys. That was Bruce Smith and Mark Carrier and Jeff George and those types of players. But there was so much hype. There was so much hoopla. Nobody knew that you couldn't buy wins at that time. It was one of the first teams to really go big in that way. And then coming off of an 8-win season when you had underachieved anyway, with a new head coach supposed to have kind of galvanized everything moving forward, the thought was this team's going to be a playoff team. And then it was a huge disappointment. But this is the most favored games for Washington since that 2000 season.
And that's with a step up in schedule, right? I mean, that's with a far more difficult path ahead than last year. Look, I think there's 6, maybe 7 teams that didn't make the postseason last year, including Seattle, who was 10-7. You know, so this is no cakewalk. I'd get it if you had Cleveland a couple times or something to that effect, but they don't. That is pretty wild, man. That's the case. I know it's not all like 7-point or 6.5-point favorites in those look-ahead lines, but still, man, there was a very favorable view of this operation.
I could see them being favored 9 or 10 times. 12 feels like a lot. We'll see what it is when the games kick off, or I guess when the season kicks off more than anything else. All right, without further ado, we stumbled into this yesterday, you and I, and we wanted to open up the phones on this today. So we'll open up the listener lines at 800-636-1067. But the question was, and it was based on just a comment you made in passing. You said something to the effect of, with the way their schedule opens and the soft landing spot, you can get off to a 3-1, maybe a 4-1 start. And you said, if you do that and then you go 500 the rest of the way, you win 10 games. And you kind of corrected yourself and said, now I know that would be a little disappointing and everybody wouldn't be thrilled with that, but they'd be 10-7. And I jumped in and said, well, wait a second. I would sign up right now this second to go 10-7 this season, sight unseen, as opposed to letting the year play out. It's like when you've come to me before a Caps game and you'll say, hey, would you take 3 goals tonight or let the game happen? And I've got to then decide, okay, based on how things are trending. If we propose to you right now, deal or no deal, you got to slam the little box closed and get off the phone with the dealer and play the game, or you just accept the offer. We're giving you 10 wins for the Commanders with this schedule this year, the season after they won 12, back-to-back 10-plus win seasons for the first time since the early 90s. Are you taking that, or are you so confident in the team with the 9.5 win total, going over 10, that you want to see what's behind the door?
So I would say I was surprised by your answer. And you threw this on the old Twitterverse. You conducted your own informal polling, if I may say so, where the answers were split right down the middle. People with a little bit of swag, a little bit of confidence from last year said, no, man, let it play out. You don't put a cap on this team. Don't put a ceiling on this team. I thought I was going to be the worry wart, the Chicken Little, the guy with kind of the sky falling potentially, where you're looking at A, a more difficult schedule, B, unsustainable things that happened all of last year, and you're counting on those things to continue again. I thought I'd be the one that would say, you know what? Actually, I would take 10 wins, sight unseen. I would sign up for that 1,000 times out of 1,000. Because here's one of my beliefs. I think they could be better than they were last year. You could examine a dozen different metrics, right? They could be better than they were last year and still not win as many games. You don't get a Hail Mary. You don't get 2 of the 4th downs or 5 of the 4th downs, or one of your 4 kickers last year misses one of those big ones, or something happens where the league happens. You don't win 12 games when you're incredibly fortunate to do so. Last year, they only beat the regular season. I think it was 1 or 2 teams ended up with a winning record. Now, something regresses in that department as well. The point is, a lot can go wrong that didn't last year, and these things have a way of kind of equaling themselves out when you step up in difficulty. So I would take 10 games right now.
So would I.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of pushback on this.
Sure.
So we just saw our buddy JP Finley here at Capital One Arena getting ready for the Caps and the Canes. Game 5 is the night. Capitals trying to stave off elimination. JP of B. Mitch and Finley and NBC4 fame.
Thank you.
So we stumbled into
boys?
this. What's up, buddy? You look great, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I like that jacket.
I just got this in Raleigh when I was down there.
No way. Was it just
Did you go to a men's clothier, or is it like a chain store?
You can decide. I went to Belk's. You ever been to Belk's down south?
That's a chain store.
But it was
Is it
Belk's-
Belk's or is it same as Belk, which is like the heck or the like a Macy's up
Yeah,
here?
it's like their
same
version of that,
thing.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, but they had a men's store separate in the
Oh.
Crabtree Mall. I was blown away by it was a really impressive store. You will know this. This is a Bonobos jacket. Bonobos, you know that brand?
I love them.
Dude,
Brand I love them.
I
They're
was-
flattering.
I was shocked they had that at Belk. I was really impressed, and it was 50% off. I got 2 jackets for the price of 1.
Look at
It's
you.
pretty good.
JP.
Now, did you have to go get clothes because you forgot something, or did you
No,
just had some time to kill and you like shopping for clothes?
When I was a kid and lived in North Carolina, we always went to Belk. So when I saw Belk and my mom came to visit me and we had like an hour to kill and we'd already had lunch and there was, we walked around the mall.
kicked
And
it
I was
old
like, there's
school.
a Belk
You and
men's
Mom
store.
went to Belk.
Mom had a Belk card, got me an extra 10. It was 40% off with the Belk card, another 10.
Oh, JP.
It was
I'm
great.
Man, have a day.
So I actually think I'm
Great.
wearing Bonobos jeans right now, as a matter of fact.
Dude, it's a great brand. I was shocked
they
to
know what
see
they're
it
doing.
at Belk and on clearance.
How do you spell that? B-O-N-O.
B-O, it's like like
B-A-N-A-N-A-S.
yeah, it's like that. It's
That.
Bonobos. Okay, I've seen that.
O-B-O-S,
Yeah.
I didn't know they were in stores because I thought they had their own
Their own
stores.
store, their own online outlet.
So here's the question. We bumped our heads into this yesterday. So Danny was just making the point. They get off to a 4-1 start with their soft schedule.
Sure.
500 the rest of the way, 10-7. He's like, now I know that'd be disappointing. What I said was, sight unseen right now, deal or no deal, I would take 10 wins and run.
I saw you guys put this on social yesterday,
Yeah.
maybe? I saw it.
But a lot of people are
it's
like,
a great
10-7. How could you possibly? Dude, the schedule's hard. That means Jaden was probably healthy.
You're
Like,
nailing Vegas has it at 9.5, right?
right, you're
So
hitting
right
the
on-
over.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that they could also win 11 or 12 games, but they could also win 8 or 9. Like something could go badly.
Sure. And your point about getting the bounces, I think is pretty. So what I think is most impressive is I think they have now built a 10-win team, right? Like I think that's maybe not floor, but I think that's who they are, is a double-digit win team. I think this is a league largely driven by offense. I think they really worked hard to make their offensive line better, which is way more sustainable than like chasing defensive stats. It's just so much variance with that. I think 10 sight unseen, if that's the deal, I think you're in the playoffs. Like
Well, so that's the
10
big
wins, you're
argument
in the
people made.
playoffs.
So I would say it at what?
You're
At
probably
like
the 6th seed.
85% clip.
Yeah.
yeah, like
right,
Seattle
10-7.
won 10 games last year, didn't make it.
Right.
That
There
can
is
happen.
there is typically a 10-7 team that like gets frozen out via tiebreaker.
Is that typical, or
That's
is
a
there
good
like
question.
I feel like 9 and 8, like we've only had this expanded playoff with
For a
the
few
3
years now,
wild cards
right?
for a few years, so the data might be too small to like
Right.
punch up the numbers. But I feel like you see the in the hunt graphic, and you got 8 and 9. You know what I mean? Like, 10 to me, you're in.
What it really comes down to is how sold are you on Daniels being so elite that they have a chance to win every weekend, I guess. And the idea that like ESPN's got them 6th in football, NFL Network's got them 6th in football. I guess if people think they're that good, then maybe you say, I'm going to play this out. Let me see what's behind the door. I admit I've just been at this movie theater too long.
Sure.
And I am worried about opening the door and, the getting punched in the face too. Like that could happen.
Sure. I am trying to like kind of recalibrate my brain. The punches in the face were a different group from the top down. You know what I mean? Like,
sure,
this group, we haven't seen any of that. So I'm trying to approach it differently, but it's hard to just like remove the skepticism from your brain that we experienced for 25 years.
I think it's harder to write the second bestseller than the first, though.
Sure.
So while what you're saying is totally true, like Dan's gone, there's a real front office that's actually good. There's a coaching staff that's much better than the last few. And, of course, you've got the quarterback you look for 30 years. There's also the idea that harder schedule, you're getting everyone's best shot, you're not surprising anybody.
And Daniels goes down awkwardly against Carolina. If it's slightly more awkward, 0.1% more awkward, maybe it's multiple cracked ribs and it's 2 months that he doesn't play instead of being not quite the same for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And we're right there. That when he got at the goal line against Atlanta, he got his bell rung, and Marcus Mariota had to pick him up by the bootstraps.
Sure.
He clearly it didn't seem like everything was great, and he's the running game. My point is, like, we were dodging knives like the Matrix last year, and it worked, and it was awesome. I had more fun than I've had in a long time, but it all went their way. And if it doesn't one time, 2 times, that's why I'm saying I would take 10 wins because it means a lot of stuff went right.
I don't think that's a crazy thought. I think you have to separate injuries, right? Because what is Detroit if Goff goes down? Like I think any team. Like, what are the Ravens if Lamar goes down?
Yeah.
Quarterback is just such an important, outsized important position that the injury factor is there for everyone. If you want to say it's higher for Jaden because of the running, I can comprehend that. But that is its own thing. I think the only real coin toss or probably even long shot win is the Hail Mary to me. That's the only one that was like, wow, that never happens, and it happened. Outside of that, like, did they get the bounces? Yes, but I also think Jaden's not a guy. Most bounces and that kind of crazy endings come on turnovers or really poor clock management late. And I believe Jaden's not a guy that turns it over a lot. That's just kind of who he is, and I think that is a huge factor. And I think by and large, their clock management was really good. I thought they were great being aggressive late in the first half. I thought that was like a staple all season. And I think you steal 3 points when you have 36 seconds on the clock. Like, those little things matter. And that leads me to believe that those things should continue.
And that's where having the playmaker running quarterback into those halves is just a game changer. And they stole points, as you said, all year. I totally agree with the point, too. The Hail Mary game is the one that you go back and go, that's a 1 in a 50 chance or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But
different than New Orleans where they're going for 2 to win it. That's 50-50.
Sure.
The
but
1 in
also,
a million.
look at the Vikings, though. Like, when they went 13-3 or 4, whatever it was, and they won like 9 games in the last.
Right.
Everyone said they can't do that the next year, and they didn't. They went like 4-5, and Washington won all of those games that came down to the wire. That year over year doesn't really, like, they were 22 of 25 on 4th down.
Sure,
that's not happening again. But the 10 wins, I think, is the fascinating number to say, deal or no deal. You take it, or do you want to see what's behind the door?
And the response was overwhelmingly negative?
Well, I would say we're about to
50-50,
hit the phones, 800-636-1067. It was about 50-50, but the early return was, you're crazy if you would just take 10 wins right now.
That you're underselling them.
Exactly.
I wonder if you make it 11, how different that is.
I would hope it's a lot different.
I would say.
At 11, that should be 80,
like, at what point do we go, people are being insane?
Right.
Yeah.
14-3
Would you
ain't
take
coming
14?
through. You know, like, come on.
Totally. I mean, the 10-win thing, you're on the Vegas number.
Like, I'm as excited as everybody else. It's been 1 year. Can we just relax a little bit? The idea that this is just how it's going to go for the next 5 years, I think people are putting the cart before the horse. a little bit on this.
What's interesting with if you look at the Texans is everybody's like, oh, sophomore slump, and they're still in the divisional round of the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Like it looked a little different. It was a little clunky. I also think
They were a lot better on defense, though. I'd say they had great pass rushers. Washington doesn't have any of those.
I think a huge part of a continued success, and eventually this road will end. But keeping the offensive staff together is really hard to do. They got everybody back. I mean, they got everybody back on both sides. What they lose, an assistant linebackers coach?
Right.
That's unheard of.
It's crazy.
Not for just like more, not in a bad way, but there's general turnover on every staff every year.
It was stunning. Yeah. It's
I mean,
great.
that was a big surprise to me. Even like a
Same here.
passing game coordinator doesn't go get an OC job or something.
Shocked. Yeah. Enjoy the game.
Thanks, boys.
Have fun, buddy.
Hopefully they win.
I like the hockey jersey.
Yeah, this is the Nats giveaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the giveaway.
I think those got sent to the station, right?
Yeah.
It looks good on you. It looks
Thank
good.
you, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to make me feel good because you got a Bonobos jacket on and I've got
Right.
like a giveaway on.
Looks very good.
I think it looks cool.
Well,
And Stallion's like, gosh, it's so cold in here. You're wearing shorts.
yeah,
dude.
he is.
It's an
Hockey game,
ice
man.
rink.
Yeah.
It's ice.
You got to know what's happening. All right. We will get to your thoughts on this next. 10 wins, or are you going to see what's behind the other door and play it out? Grant and Danny on the Fan. At Capital One Arena, ahead of tonight's Game 5, Caps and the Canes. We're Grant and Danny. You are listening to The Fan. Yesterday, we're discussing the Commanders' schedule. Danny made the point if Washington gets off to a fast 4-1 start, they could play 500 the rest of the way and win 10 games. And then he made the observation that a lot of fans might be disappointed if they only won 10 games this year. My point is, I would take that sight unseen right now. Sign me up. Let's go 10-7, get into the playoffs as a wild card, and see what happens in the dance. But we got some pushback on that on social media, so we wanted to hit the phones at 800-636-1067. It's a little Grant or Danny, deal or no deal. You get 10 wins, or you get to see what's behind the door when they play out the season. Let's go to Josh in Fredericksburg on G&D. What's up, Josh? How are you? Josh,
So
you there, buddy? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm there. I would take the 10 wins, but I would win the warm fuzzy. I would do it only if one of the wins was guaranteed on the Eagles.
Meaning that they could still be alive in the division,
okay.
or just because
So
you'd like to beat Philadelphia?
Yeah, a division win against the Eagles. If that's thrown in, then I'll take it.
But I'm asking, is it because you think then they would have a chance to win the division, or is it because you just want to beat Philly?
Well, yeah, to help with possibly climbing the division and seeing
Gotcha.
if they can get the division as well.
Yeah, thanks for the call.
Appreciate
I think 10-7 is not good enough to win the East. I think when you're taking the 10-win option, Danny, and you're taking off the table the 11 or the 12-win season, you're punting on winning the East probably because Philly's an 11-ish win team or better. I mean, you could, in a tiebreaker, to his point, win the division at 10-7. I just say it's unlikely. I think you're basically saying I'm okay with a wild card playoff berth and going on the road in the first round, which, by the way, is what they just did when they
literally
beat
just did.
Tampa and Detroit and got to the NFC title.
And
game.
again, the thing, and by the way, it's not unreasonable to say, no, we're good. Let it play out. I don't think that's crazy. My point that I'm going to try to make, and I'm not going to do a good job making it, is they could be better. I think they will be better than they were last year and have a lot worse record. Talking about like a 20% worse record is kind of what I'm predicting. I mean, there's a reason Vegas has them at 9.5 wins, but everybody in the world's got them in the top 5, 6, 7, 8 in the power rankings. They'll be better than last year in a lot of ways, but may not finish with the same record.
Derek's in Waldorf on Grant and Danny. Derek, you taking the 10 wins or you playing the game?
Man, hey, listen, fellas. Listen. I wouldn't be mad if they won 10 games next year, but I'm punting, man. I'm not taking that 10 win because I'm gonna tell you why. Just like you just said, I believe the team is going to be better. Like they did what they did last year. They won some close games, but that's the NFL nowadays, right? And so they did what they did last year. They grew from that. I can't imagine that as a franchise, they didn't grow from last year's experience. And I know we said there only beat 2 teams that ended up the season with winning records. However, they beat 2 playoff teams. So we can't take away the credit that they had a good season because they only beat 2 quote-unquote good teams. They beat 2 playoff teams.
And to be
In the
clear,
playoffs.
thanks for the call.
Thank you, buddy.
That's true. He's talking about the 2 wins in the playoffs. But what he's also referencing is they beat 2 teams all year that were playoff caliber teams with winning records.
Right. And the reason I brought that up isn't to take away from it. A lot of people were doing that last year. I'm saying that's not on their schedule this year.
Yeah.
Last year it was, where they only had a couple chances to beat playoff teams. They're going to have 9 or 10, maybe 11 this year.
So my answer when I say take the 10 wins is twofold. 1, 10 wins in the playoffs is a good season for any team, really, unless you are one of the elites in the National Football League where it's Super Bowl or bust. And that brings me to point number 2. I don't think Washington is Kansas City and Detroit and Philly yet. It seems like everybody is making them the jacket to wear to get into that club. They're lifting up the velvet rope, and I'm happy for that. This is not me complaining. I'm prideful. I'm a father watching a kid get into the club he's not supposed to be in, going, way to go, Junior. This is awesome. I'm just not there yet. My threshold seems to be larger than most people's. I need multiple seasons of that before I say Jaden Daniels is one of the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks in the league in perpetuity, and the Commanders will never lose as long as he's around. Also, it takes a couple injuries. Like, I think they have a 12-ish win offense. I think they have probably an 8-win defense. They don't have edges that get to the quarterback. Their defensive tackle room, in my opinion, is worse than it was last year when John Allen was healthy. So if you add those 2 things together, that's 10 wins. Now you got a good punter and a good kicker, and if you're solid on coverage, maybe you're an 11-win team. but I'll take 10 because it means you kept your quarterback and the important players healthy. Let's go to Disco and Laurel on G&D. What's up, Disco?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. You know what? I 10-7 with it has to. I'm good with that, but it has to be with playoffs. If 10-7 is without the playoffs, then I'm out on that. But I also sense a tinge of a little bit like, hey, yeah, we still have that. We're just happy to be here. 10-7. Like, guys, I think one of the things we're not considering is has the roster improved to the point where we can say where are the probable losses? Because when you look through the schedule, and we know health is critical and all of that, who are we actually picked to lose against? So I'm not saying we're going 17-0. I'm not saying that at all.
I get it.
If the roster has improved, particularly on the offense, we don't know the defense. I think what we're falling victim to is, well, we don't have a named edge rusher that we can feel comfortable with. Yeah, I know that guy, so he's going to get 10, 12, 14 sacks. But if we think the roster is better, why are we saying we're 2 wins worse?
So a couple of things on that, and we'll answer that question next. Where are the probable losses? The idea that based on the odds, they're 12-5 team right now, and we're saying we'll take 10-7. And are they a better team? Let's get into that next. We do have Tom Gallitti of NHL.com and NHL Media coming up at 5:30 live from Capital One Arena. You're listening to The Fan. As it's Grant, the DC Defenders are back at Audi Field on
Gerard, who shot a 5 under 66 today. Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, Steven Yeager, and Adam Scott all at 4 under par. Adam Scott, the only one of those at 4 under par still in the course. He's through 14 holes today. Coach Wooten's basketball camp, they instill a love of the game by teaching kids how to play, the values of the game, and having fun. Join the rite of passage for beginners all the way up to the rising high school star and experience the legacy of the Wooten basketball camps. Coach Wooten. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
Live from Capital One Arena ahead of Game 5 of Caps Canes tonight. Locals trying to stave off elimination. We're Grant and Danny, brought to you by the law firm Condori and Murad. They'll get you squared away on your last will and testament, set up a living trust, or put together a medical power of attorney. This is stuff you do like 40, 50 years from now. This is stuff you got to get done now. It's not fun, but they'll make it easy. Schedule a free consultation with their attorneys today. Go to kmlawyers.com. Be sure to tell them we sent you. That's kmlawyers.com. They'll be opening the gates here at Capital One Arena within the hour, and fans will be pouring in to our setup. We're at sections 103 and 104. I can smell some fryers that got turned on.
They just right when they first get fired up.
It's one of my spidey senses.
Yeah.
And I can smell some popcorn around the bend as well.
Well, it's not even around the bend. It's maybe, 12 feet from behind Ryan? That's popcorn right there.
Oh, that's where it is.
That's what popcorn is.
Yeah,
that
that'll
smell,
do it.
it's the most intoxicating smell. I think that's what perfume should be. It should be popcorn. We should have one that's banana bread, one that's chocolate chip cookies. I'm all about it.
In a world where I were to go purchase a bucket of popcorn, and I'm not going to, but in a world where I was going to purchase a bucket of popcorn,
Okay.
and then I sat it right here next to me on the table,
Mhm.
still a couple feet away from where the people will come up and greet us and say hello. Would anyone reach into that bucket of popcorn and eat any of it?
Now, before, what month was that? October? Before October 2024, I would have said, nobody is going to reach all the way over so many objects into your half-eaten bowl of popcorn and take any from you. That would never happen. I have seen it happen. I've watched it with my own eyes. I have seen that incident, and it changed me. So the answer to that, my friend, is yes, somebody would do that.
It has happened before. Do you see that there's a book coming out that Seth Wickersham wrote?
Oh, buddy.
I tell you what, if Seth Wickersham comes calling, I might just not answer that phone. If I am, and he's an unbelievable journalist.
He's
and
really
reporter.
good. Yeah, he's such a good writer.
But boy, if everything he writes doesn't become bombshells. I mean, he is a stud in that way. But the reporting is that via the book that he's writing that's about to drop, Caleb Williams sought his way around going to the Chicago Bears. Remember all the reports last year that came out?
Oh, yeah.
Caleb Williams and his dad didn't want to go to Chicago, and they're trying to reinvent the draft, and they don't want to be a part of the draft process. And everyone just kind of yelled at the media, said they made everything up. That wasn't true. Caleb went to the Bears. No issues here. Remember all that?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently there was actually some agitating. So this is from an ESPN excerpt of the book that's coming out. Quarterback Caleb Williams was so concerned about being picked by the Chicago Bears last year that he and his family weighed blowing up the entire NFL draft, consulting with lawyers to figure out a way around the league's CBA while considering signing with the United Football League. Details from a forthcoming book reveal. Quote, Chicago is the place quarterbacks go to die.
Well
Carl
done.
Williams, Caleb's father, told Seth Wickersham, author of American Kings. It's a biography of the quarterback. He told him this in the months leading up to the draft, that Chicago is where quarterbacks go to die, and he didn't want his son to play there. I'll continue to read here. Again, this is excerpt, ESPN.com. I need to go to the Vikings, Caleb Williams told his father before the draft last year. Let's do it, his father replied. But both Caleb and his dad, Carl, knew that a trade to a division rival was extremely unlikely. There is no chance the Bears were given the number one pick to the Minnesota Vikings.
No, you kidding?
Bears GM Ryan Poles stood firm, telling Williams, we're drafting you no matter what you say. You can't do anything to make us not draft you, just so you know. That left one option, to publicly attack the Bears and the city of Chicago hoping that it would make the situation so untenable, similar to Jack and John Elway back in the 80s in 1983, that they would pass on him. The Williamses decided not to do that. Quote, he's worried about me taking bullets, Carl Williams told Wickersham of his son. I don't care. I just don't agree with this S, you know? I'm more interested in making sure that he can do what he wants to do. Caleb was concerned, correctly, that if they did try to make the Bears not want them by agitating publicly, and then they still drafted him, that it would make a bad situation even worse. But I love the idea that he's referring to it to going to Chicago, which has happened as a bad situation. In the end, Caleb Williams told Wickersham, I wasn't ready to nuke the city. Well, that's nice.
Holy hell.
I want to know what the reaction in Chicago is to this. He's played one season, not a particularly good season. Their offensive coordinator summarily got fired. Their head coach has already been dismissed. They went and got one of the great offensive minds in the league, Ben Johnson alert. He's the new head coach in Chicago, responsible for getting the best out of Caleb Williams. And maybe because of that, he's happier to be there. I'm quite sure that he is. Plus, you built some bonds in the locker room. You got buddies, whatever. But if this doesn't tell you everything you need to know, number one, all of the swirling stuff about Caleb Williams last year that everybody was so dismissive of after the draft, send your apologies to wherever you need to, because you were wrong and they were right. That's number one. And number two, my goodness.
Oh, buddy.
The Bears have themselves a bit of a sticky wicket, a little fire to put out here in the offseason.
See, here's the thing. He's not wrong talking about Caleb Williams.
Nope.
He saw that from a mile away. This is where quarterbacks go to die. By the way, what a line. Because they've been on the same search that we have. They've been on the same odyssey that we have for decades.
Well, you saw the line that everybody, used the same unfunny joke. I think 800 people tweeted, Chicago got a Pope before a 4,000-yard quarterback. They have not had a 4,000-yard quarterback in their history.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, who everybody hated here for some reason, did that getting out of bed the first time he ever started. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be something in your entire history that you can't do.
There's a handful of franchises that have this perennial, it never works for us. We are always super desperate and nothing ever good can happen. Washington was one, Cleveland, Detroit to a degree, and Chicago. That's kind of your group, and there's a reason they've always been down at the bottom for the most part. The occasional flare-up of goodness over, several decades. So he looks at the situation where a lame duck head coach that's on the firing line already, a bad offensive coordinator that should never have been hired. He's dead right about that situation. Chicago's right that, sorry, dude, you're the difference maker. We're taking you no matter what. You can tap dance and try to duck and dodge and dip and dodge. We got the rights. We own it. You're the number one pick, and you're coming here. You're going to be the catalyst for the change.
But you can just see it. So they start with, we're going to change the draft forever. We're not allowing this. Let's hire lawyers. That doesn't go anywhere.
Woo-hoo.
So then they go, let's send you to the United Football League to play for Arlington.
Be a St. Louis Battle Hawk.
DC Defenders, Caleb Williams. And he goes, well, maybe that's not the best idea, Dad. He goes, okay, fine. Cooler heads prevail. So then they decide, Danny, you know what we're going to do? In his words, not mine. We're going to nuke Chicago. We're going to say all the terrible things that we can, all the awful things that we can come up with about the Bears, and they won't take us. And Caleb Williams says, but Pops, what if we say all that stuff about the Bears and they still draft me? And then everybody there hates my guts. And I've got to go play while I'm being booed constantly as a rookie because I've just run down the Italian sausage sandwich. What's the Chicago sandwich?
The Italian beef sandwich.
Italian beef sandwich.
Deep dish pizza sucks.
You know what the worst building in America is? The Sears Tower. You know what pizza I hate? Giordano's. I mean, he was just going to cut a promo like a heel wrestler.
The Green River on St. Patty's Day is lame.
But can you imagine doing all that? And then they still go, we're taking you. Sorry about your luck. Unbelievable.
The whole thing is a saga.
I imagine because this stuff coming out in this book is a year old, basically, that now you let bygones be bygones. But I'm sure there are going to be fans that are annoyed by this. There are going to be fans whose feathers are ruffled. I wonder what the consensus reaction will be in Chicago.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm like, God, I need to lose weight. I don't look very good. And then someone waddles in and goes, God, you're fat. Like, I don't love that you said it. All the fans think that about the Chicago Bears. They all think it, that Waldron was dumb, that shouldn't have been there. They all think that the old head coach, who I'm blanking on, who's why is
Matt Eberflus.
Eberflus, thank you. That Eberflus shouldn't have been the head guy. They're all thinking that we've never had a good quarterback forever, no matter how hard we've tried. It's never worked out, and this is the place the quarterbacks go to die. They know all the bad stuff about their own team.
But
They're
you don't
aware
get
of it.
to say that.
But you don't say it yet. You don't get to do it yet, and that's all it is. That to me is how it would go. So they'll be like, he's right, but please don't say that. Please come in here and be a competitor, be a difference maker. Please don't try to nuke the entire draft process because you don't want to go play in Chicago like Elway did to the Colts back in the day.
I would imagine that all that has to happen to let the dust settle on this is he just has to play well. And last year he flashed. There were certainly moments.
Those are the great moments.
He's so talented. I mean, the skill set, when you're talking about arm strength, athleticism, mobility, play extension, it's all there. The faders are turned up above average on almost every single trait.
Now, I mean, we saw it firsthand. Not the first 45 minutes or so, but all of a sudden that fourth quarter when it was playmaking time,
Yep.
they couldn't stop that guy.
Well, the first 45 minutes were a Shabingus of epic proportion. I mean, that he was awful, I thought, in stretches of that game
Agreed.
against the Commanders at home. But last year, you look at the numbers, they're not terrible.
Just a pretty decent little rookie season.
And this isn't the best way to do it with just the counting stats, but 20 touchdowns, 6 picks, 3,500 yards in 17 games. You can do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, we've seen that.
And I think it was a terrible coaching situation. You alluded to this a minute ago, what Bears fans may have thought. But for me, I thought the Waldron hire was not very good with Eberflus as a lame duck, like paired together those two. But Eberflus as a guy that shouldn't have kept his job. He got a new haircut and a little bit of a makeover. And they're like, actually, we like this version of you better. We'll give you one more run at this thing. They have since fired those guys. And I would go as far as to say if he can't make it work with Ben Johnson, then he's not going to make it work. So I now love the coaching situation for him. We overrated maybe the situation around him from a playing standpoint last year. Because I remember saying he's hooked, he's lucky, he's got a better situation than Jaden or anybody else. And the fact is, the O-line was not as good as I thought it was going to be. They were terrible.
Yep.
But they fixed that. They've got new starting guards at both guard spots and a center. They've reworked all 60% of the interior of the offensive line. So I love that. Plus the weaponry with old Keenan Allen and Adunze, who wasn't quite as quick to develop as I thought. It just wasn't what I anticipated it being. However, fast forward here, now that you got Ben Johnson, I think you got a chance to make some sweet music pretty quickly.
Here. And just everything will be better. There's more speed. There's more design. There's more, taking advantage of certain things. Just sort of felt like the offense for most of the time you'd watch them is, all right, Caleb, good luck, buddy. Go make something happen. I mean, he had almost 500 yards rushing, too, as a rookie. He doesn't really love to run the football. Well, he scrambles to pass. But, again, a really talented player with a huge amount of upside. So you're right. Now's the time here to put up or shut up. But this book coming out doesn't sound like it's going to make it any easier.
Caps, Canes tonight. We're at Capital One Arena. Gates are going to open about 40 minutes from now. We're looking forward to seeing you guys as you get into the building. So if you're on your way down to D.C., come say hello. We're in sections 103 and 104. Next, we're going to get some insight into some of the changes that Spencer Carberry is making tonight on the lines and what the Caps have to do to try to reverse their fortunes facing elimination. You're listening to Grant and Danny here on The Fan.
I'm Toby Altizer with your sports update on the Fan. Do or die tonight for the Capitals as they take on the Hurricanes. Game 5 of the series, 7 o'clock tonight over at Capital One Arena. You can hear the game right here on the Fan. The Hurricanes lead the series 3-1. It's do or die for the Caps tonight in Game 5 at 7 o'clock. In baseball, the Nationals fell once again to the Braves 5-2. They dropped 3 of 4, and they've lost 8 of their last 9 games. They now continue their road trip as they go to Baltimore for a 3-game series starting tomorrow night. In the NBA, the Thunder taking on the Nuggets at 8:30 tonight. Game 6 of that series, Oklahoma leads the series 3-2, looking to close it out tonight. And PGA Championship update right now, the leader at 6 under par, Cam Davis. He's through 16 holes today. In second place is Ryan Gerard at 5 under par. He shot an opening round 66. Several players at 4 under par, including Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, and Steven Yeager. Adam Scott also at 4 under par. He's through 15 on the day. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
Game 5 from Capital One Arena. Third home game of the series for the Caps and the Canes. Washington looking for home win number 2 to keep their season alive here in this barn in this round. Caps playoff coverage is brought to you on Grant and Danny by Ace Trim Carpentry. For over 25 years, Ace Trim has been a trusted trade partner for new home builders in the DMV. They specialize in full-service interior trim carpentry, handling everything from supply to installation, turnkey and hassle-free. Contact acetrim.com today. Ace Trim, the home builders trade partner. Right now, we are pleased to have on the program the regional writer covering the Caps for NHL.com, Tom Galletti, who covers all of the National Hockey League. And, Tom, thanks for a few minutes out here at Capital One Arena. Get a little national perspective on this evening's festivities. Give us your thoughts on this series so far. Caps find themselves in a pretty big 3-1 hole. How have we gotten here?
I think it really just starts with they've had so much trouble with the Hurricanes forecheck that they have spent a lot of time defending and not a lot of time to create offense. So they haven't had scored a lot of goals. I think only scored 3 5-on-5 goals in the entire series. They're just when they are getting chances, Frederik Andersen's been really good. So they haven't been able to finish. Hurricanes have just kept coming in waves with them, and at times the Capitals have been able to handle it, but not enough to put them in a situation where they're down 3-1 here.
Impossible to prove and impossible to know. But in your expert opinion, how would Washington fare if they were playing either Toronto or Florida right now?
They played both those teams well this year. I think it's a little different in the regular season than the playoffs because teams can pinpoint your weaknesses. I think Florida plays a very similar to the Canes with as far as their forecheck. They really wear teams down with their forecheck, so they might have had trouble with that. I think they the Maple Leafs might be in a different heavy series where the Capitals can play their kind of game and play in their end maybe more. That's what the Capitals need to do to win this year. They need to be more in Carolina's end, so they're not putting as much pressure in the defensive zone, obviously.
And Tom, how did they get there? Like, that's the result. What's the process that leads to that?
They just need to have cleaner breakouts, and they've done it at times. They started the last 2 games. I thought they did a really good job of getting out of their zone quickly in their breakouts and getting it, making plays in transition to score, to get scoring chances at the other end. They didn't finish, and then when you saw last game, first period there, they just started the first 10 minutes really well, and then there was just one shift where they couldn't get the puck out 4 straight times. They had times to get it out. They couldn't get out, and eventually led in the first goal. But the first goal by Shane Gostisbehere. So they just need to. I think playing with a lead would help a lot, but obviously that means converting on the chances that they had early.
So I think the story of this series is twofold. One, what you're talking about, which is this was my fear coming into this, just the way Carolina plays and all the Washington playoff games I've lost years of my life to over those years, is they can't get out of their own end. Every zone exit feels like climbing Mount Everest. But then 2, when the Caps have had the run of play, they haven't scored many goals. I don't know another way to say it than that, but A, maybe how does that change? But B, why haven't they been able to pot 1 or 2?
I think it's one, there's less time in the offensive zone. We talked about that already.
Yeah.
2, I think they haven't gotten enough traffic pucks to the net. They're averaging less than 20 shots on goal a game. Part of that is because they're defending, but I think they're not shooting enough. They're not getting guys. They're not. You've seen in the playoffs how some of these goals are scored that go off either the other team's player in front or your own team's player in front, and it's a lot of one and done for the Capitals, not rebound chances. I think maybe a little simplification in the offensive zone. Again, one of the things where if you get one to go in against Frederik Andersen, maybe your confidence goes up. They've been chasing these games other than game. The first 2 games at home, I think they played they had a lead in those games, and game 2 was their best as far as getting a lead and playing with it. But they just need to not be chasing a game the whole time.
Tom Galiti is with us on Grant and Danny. We're live at Capital One Arena in the main concourse. When you come in, say what's up, sections 103 and 104. He's the regional writer for NHL.com, covering this Caps Kane series. How do you feel Alex Ovechkin's played in this series?
It's been a tough series. I think they're playing, especially in the games in Carolina. They're matching Stahl's line against them. They have Jacob Slavin, who's one of the best shutdown defensemen.
He is so good, by the way.
Yeah, so he's playing it. He's seeing that. The first period of Game 3, that was not the matchup. They tried to go against Dubois' line, and Ovechkin has some of his best chances in the first period of that game. They did not score. Then they switched it back to having Stahl on them, and it's just really hard. And one of the other problems is their power play, and he's part of that. Their power play has not been producing. So other than that 5-on-3 goal he scored last game, which is a different situation, not getting set up. And a lot of his confidence, or a lot of his game, you score a goal on the power play, leads to other success otherwise.
You mentioned Slavin. I fell in love with. I mean, he's a great player, and I've liked his game for a long time. But he's a Hurricane, and it's annoying, and I kind of hate his guts. But I fell in love with him for the first time when he was representing me for Team USA at the Four Nations, which I know you covered. But Slavin he's such a good player. I mean, what does he do so well? It seems like he's just got a length and a stick that no one else has.
All those things, shuts down plays with his stick, just is, closing on defense, on forwards, just does not give you room. And like you said, because of his length, the way, I've seen him do it to many players. Alex Ovechkin, a couple of years ago they played against Jack Hughes, and I think Jack Hughes didn't even have it. Like, I think he had in the games, even strength, he had nothing. Like, he had 2 shots on goal the entire series. It's just the way he's able to cover ground. He's just so smart and understands the game so well. He's able to close on plays and gives you no room.
What do you make of Carbery switching the lines up here a lot? For me, it's thank God they're doing something. I know people can maybe view that as a panic move, and it's easy for me because I got nothing on the line, but I'm already panicked. I've watched these first 4 games, and I go, do something. What do you make of that?
I mean, I don't know if it's panic move. I think it just makes sense. So they have not been creating offense. They have, they have two 5-on-5 goals from forwards, and that was Protas in Game 1 and McMichael in Game 2. So they're trying to find something. They haven't gotten anything from the bottom of their lineup. Their third line really hasn't been on and off the season. Really has been kind of like their problem as far as their line. So they're going to try. McMichael's played center before, most of his career before this year. We became a wing. So, and he played a little bit this year, and they're just they're making a move there, put him in the center, see if they can get something going on with Mangiapane and Ryan Leonard, the rookie. Lars Eller has been there, but it's just that line has not been producing. So, tough decision for when you sit a player like that who's meant a lot to this organization. But these are the decisions you have to make at this time of the year. And when you're down 3-1, you can't wait for we're going to wait. You can't. This is the time to make a change if you're going to make a change.
Tom Galiti of NHL.com with us on Grant and Danny. I'm fascinated by the line you just referenced with McMichael going 3LC now, Mangiapane, McMichael, and Leonard. I think it's a small line. No doubt about that. They're 5'9" or smaller, maybe. I don't know. But it's also maybe the fastest line the Capitals have had in terms of straight skating all season. What does that look like tonight? Like, how do you think Carbery with last change tries to match up, and what might he look for in terms of the adversary for that line to help them the most? Because they could struggle, I would imagine, defensively with a lack of size.
It's a good question. I don't know. I think they will have. I think they were kind of controlling where that line was playing anyway. I think it went from when you look at the Capitals, their third line really has been their fourth line. The fourth, Nick Dowd's line is the fourth line, but they play more. They play situationally. They get matched against other teams, first or second line, depending on who they're playing. So, so this line, I think they're looking for just a little more offense out of it, and maybe he will put them in some situations where they succeed with maybe some offensive zone starts instead of having to start in a D zone and worry about who they're matched again. Like you said, being at home does give some advantage there as far as their size and like their speed. Maybe they can get the Hurricanes on their heels instead of being the other way around for much of this game.
Let's go to the positive side for Washington. Hard, but now they're down 3-1, and we've kind of mentioned the State of the Union here. Who's actually played better than we realized? Who's actually been pretty good this series?
Well, I mean, I think Logan Thompson probably his play dropped off a little bit the last 2 games, but he was really good for them the first 2 games. The main reason why they probably got a split early. Tom Wilson has played, I think, pretty well, and the stats don't show it, but they don't show it for everybody. His only 2 points came in that Game 2 win, but he's been Game 3, I think he had 11 hits or something like that. He's been Tom Wilson. When you watch Tom Wilson, what he does, that's what he does. Obviously they'd like to, he'd have liked to finish that chance right away in the first minute of Game 3. But I think he's been pretty good. up and down. It's been hard. I think Trevor Van Muzak has done a good job in his role. The defense has been stressed. They're not really. Alexander Alexiev, who's been playing in place of Martin Ferravari, didn't play basically in the third period last game, so they had to play. They played 5D. They've been, it's one of those. It's a tough situation. I think the Ferravari injury is something that didn't get enough attention at the time, and it's really been.
They miss him, I think.
And they definitely miss him.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Tom Gallitti of NHL.com on Grant and Danny. We're live at Capital One Arena. So 58 times in all of the sports with the best of 7 series, there's been a 3-1 deficit overcome. 58 in those sports. 14 in baseball, 13 in the NBA, and 31 in the NHL. So it's way more common in this sport, and that's because the Caps exist, obviously, because they gave up so many of those 3-1 leads, sadly. But just aside, there's this feeling of inevitability now. Like you're down 3-1, you can't come back. I don't know that that's true because you think about it tonight. If they were to find a way to win, now you're just somehow, some way win in Raleigh, which I know is difficult. And there's a game 7 and the pressure's back on them all of a sudden. It's not that crazy. You got to win the first one and that's all you can worry about. But what's your big picture thought on kind of how cooked they are as opposed to how much life this group that has responded all year might have?
I think that they have life because they're playing at home tonight and they're definitely a good home team and they have the matchups and they could, they're looking at the simple part, win a game at home and worry about what comes up next. So I think they can do that. And like you said, it has happened in the league. The Capitals have done it twice themselves, but usually they're on the other end, like you said, but they have done it twice themselves. And they've had other times when they've gotten to a game 7 when they were down 3-1. Even in 2017, it was a disappointing end, but against Pittsburgh, they're down 3-1. Everyone counted them out in that series, and all of a sudden it's 3-3, and then we know what happened then. But it's possible. You got to win the game at home and go from there. So get to 3-2. Make them win a home game rather than let them come in here and clinch the series, which is I'm sure is the approach tonight. Yeah.
Tom, thank you for joining us. I hope there are more Caps games for you to cover.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you, buddy.
Tom Gallitti, NHL.com, with us on Grant and Danny here on the Fan from Capital One Arena, where gates are going to open in about 20 minutes. Fans will start pouring in to the facility here. Come on by sections 103 and 104. You've been asking the question throughout the show today. What is the vibe going to be? Like, what's the crowd, the energy, the anticipation, the anxiety? What are those things going to look like tonight for this fan base? And I've been in enough of these games to know there's a nervous energy, and there's almost this fear when something goes bad of, oh, no, I knew it. Here it is. It's why I think it is vital, just pertinent, that they start fast tonight. Ideally, they score the first goal in the first period, and if they could score within the first 4, 5, 6 minutes, that would be a godsend. But just doing what they've done on the road, even if you're not scoring, where you come out, you carry play, you hit the post, you're the team that's the aggressor, and you're up 5-6-1 in shots like they were in games 3 and 4. To me, that's how they've got to start.
Without a doubt. I mean, listen, they've gotten off to the hot starts that hasn't resulted in a ton of goals to this point. To me, it's got to be, and I hate being this overly simplified, but it's got to result in something. You know what I mean? Like if they play well for 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, and it's 0-0 on the scoreboard, I think everyone's going to be going, oh crap, here we go. The first turnover, the first time the puck stays deep in Washington zone for an extra 10 seconds, 15 seconds, they can't clear it. The whole place is going to gasp. You've got to come away with a result early, not just carry play, because they've carried play plenty of times in this series with next to nothing to show for it. You got to have something on the scoreboard.
He's Danny. I'm Grant. You're listening to The Fan. Our NFL player is going to take part in the 2028 Olympics in LA. What might that look like? And a famous animal actor that is no longer with us. That's next on G&D, live from Capital One Arena on The Fan. Back live at Capital One Arena. Business is picking up. Starting to get a little busier. They haven't opened up the gates, but you can tell they're
There's a
about
buzz.
to.
Yeah.
People that are working in the arena are making the rounds, and everyone's got a cart full of liquor, food, wheeling it around, getting everything set up. There's a scene in Rookie of the Year, which is a movie I'm sure you'll act like you've never seen.
No, they all confuse me. Is that the one where the kid has a great arm?
It's the one where, yes, he gets hurt, and then his surgically repaired arm allows him to throw 97 for the Cubs.
Henry Rowan Gardner?
That's correct.
Yeah.
In that movie, though, there's the opening of the film is like a stadium, a ballpark, Wrigley Field, being set up for action that day. So it's the popcorn kernels being popped and, them printing out the programs. And it's just an awesome scene I always think about when I think of, games that night. That's the vibe right now, though. It's like the merch people are walking around with the jerseys and the clicking of the hangers as they hang everything up. We're about ready for action here.
Yeah.
And the gates are going to fly open whether they're ready or not in the next 15 minutes. Happy Gilmore.
Yes.
Chubbs gets his hand bitten off by an alligator.
Uh-huh.
That alligator?
Yeah.
Died.
No way.
Yes.
That's
Famous-
amazing. He was still alive. I guess alligators live a long time.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
Famous alligator.
How about that?
Actor alligator. Apparently he was in other films. But this is ABC News last night. An alligator that appeared in numerous TV shows
Wow.
and films over 30 years. Most notably, the 1996 Adam Sandler comedy Happy Gilmore
See,
has died at a gator farm in southern Colorado.
does he have, first of all, Gator Farm sounds ominous. Does he have an IMDb page? Like, has this guy been in stuff? Is he an
Gotta be.
agent?
Right? I mean, I'd imagine if I did a little more research, he weighed 640 pounds.
Yeah, he did.
That gator. That's 290 kilograms.
Oh, I was going to ask you the
Just so you
conversion.
know.
Thanks for giving me that. Dude, so you figure he's not like a toddler at the time of Happy Gilmore. He's a full-size gator.
Yeah.
That's 30 years ago, basically.
Right? I mean, he's
So
been in projects.
that's a person's lifespan.
Do you know how old he was?
I don't, so I didn't look. I don't know. I figure, what is he? Probably 20 at the time. Is in his prime. Is he? I'm gonna say 55.
They don't know his exact age.
Okay,
but they're speculating. They're saying his name's Morris, by the way.
Morris.
Morris the
Is it?
alligator. Morris. Morris the alligator was at least 80 years old.
80.
80. He has died at the ripe old age of 80 plus. I'm trying to see if there's any other. Oh, look, we got some other things he was in. You ready for this?
Here we go.
See if you recognize him. He was sent to the Colorado Gator Farm in 2006. That's when he retired from acting. He started his Hollywood career in 1975.
What?
So from 75 to 2006, he was in films and TV shows. He appeared in several movies, including Interview with the Vampire.
Come on.
Dr. Dolittle 2, Blues Brothers 2000. He was in Blues Brothers 2000. What a career this guy had.
What?
Morris was silly. He also appeared on Coach. You sleep?
Dude, name the college the coach coached at.
I don't remember.
The Minnesota State Screaming Eagles. The
Yeah.
Minnesota State Screaming Eagles.
Night Court.
Come on.
I don't know about that one.
Dude, Night Court was a smash back in the day.
And he even made an appearance. He was my rival. I was a Letterman guy. He made an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Oh, wow. So you have a gator here today. I thought,
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Featured when Steve Irwin brought him out on the show.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think him and Steve Irwin had much of a relationship, but Steve Irwin in this particular situation brought him out on stage to be shown off on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
No, I like my gator with more of handbags. That's wild, dude. I can't believe it. First of all, you glossed over Interview with the Vampire. When the hell was he in Interview with the Vampire?
I can't help you with
The
that.
Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, little Kirsten Dunst, Christian Slater, just sort of acting around like that.
Christian Slater's best role was in
Interview with the Vampire.
Wrong. I was looking for Robin Hood. I was looking for.
Actually, that was actually
he's
really
damn good in Robin
He's really
Hood.
good in Robin Hood.
Yeah,
I'll bet that.
How good is Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
It's excellent. It's excellent.
Now, Kevin Costner.
Yeah, I thought you were going to do a Nubs bit where he came in at the end of a kid's movie and it was Nubs.
No.
That's a good one.
Guy-
I'll give you that one.
Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, even though his accent comes and goes the entire movie.
It's tough.
It's bad.
Kevin Costner's wonderful. Man, that was hard.
Kevin Costner's great, but he has the range of
Yeah.
Jahidi White. And this guy is only going to operate
Yeah.
right around the rim. Morris the Alligator. Number one role, Happy Gilmore. Most known for that.
I can't
Happy
believe that.
Trails, my guy. We have decided to get Morris taxidermied so that he can continue to scare children for years to come It's what he would have wanted the farm posted on Facebook. It's kind of a great
How do
bit.
they know what he wants? He's 80.
They
I don't know.
literally have a relationship with him. They're literally with him
Yeah, but
every
he doesn't.
day.
He can't. He's an alligator. He's a predator.
Right. I think that's their exact point.
Yeah.
Taxidermy him. Kids get bothered by him. That was what he lived to do.
I guess that's true. He lived to terrify.
Right.
But I'm going to ask you questions you don't know. Like you found the article.
one of
and
your
you're sharing
favorite
with me,
things, yeah.
And I hate that I'm doing this.
Go for it.
How does like there's a before that alligator's in movies? You follow me? So someone's going to go, casting director, I need an alligator. Let's have an audition process. Let's have let's somebody search for the perfect alligator. And then it's like now once he's been in something,
Yeah.
they go, okay, we need an alligator. Go hire Morris.
So I actually do know the answer to this because my buddy is
No, you don't.
he's in charge of the
You're doing it.
alligator booking agency in
Yeah.
LA. So I actually have a file on this. It's the ABA. It's the alligator booking agency.
JVA.
So number one, size. It's about size. He was 600 pounds. He was a gigantic alligator. That's what they're looking for. There's an aesthetic there. Number two, it's about personality. He was not a docile alligator, but
Yep.
he could be trusted. He was friendly. He was endearing. He was never going to attack or eat, but he looked kind of menacing and scary.
So he's on the bigger side. The average alligator is an 11-foot alligator. That's your average, because Morris is a dude alligator.
Yeah.
500 pounds. So 640 is big.
That's what I'm saying.
Alligator
They
stands, yeah.
wanted an alligator that looked big and menacing. Most alligator roles in movies, you don't want a small baby, little nothing burger alligator. You want an
Can't have that.
alligator to be scary. So that was a big part of it. But I also think his demeanor was critical. He
demeanor?
enjoyed scaring children.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard that from the Facebook post. So anyway,
Wow.
I've been thinking a lot about Morris lately, and I
You-
just wanted to say thanks for the memories to him.
What a life to Morris the acting alligator. Seriously, man.
He crushed it.
What an unbelievable journey he went on. Just probably chilling out in some nub swamp in the middle of nowhere. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to be in more movies than 99.9% of actors ever to live. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
a wild career.
What a life. Real quick, the NFL has a memo out for their next owners meetings that are coming up where they're going to vote on the ability for players to take part in the 2028 Summer Olympics. Now, if you're wondering, wait a second, football, Olympics, not a thing. Remember, flag football is coming to the Olympics
Mhm.
in LA in 2028. Several players have come out, Tyreek Hill among them, and said they want to participate. They would love to be on the American flag football team to whoop up on everybody and win a gold medal. We just saw the basketball team win a gold medal for the Americans. Baseball players like Bryce Harper came out after that saying, I would love to participate in the Olympics. Well, football players want a piece too.
Love it.
I don't think they'll get voted and passed on this. I'd imagine owners who currently have the power to say, we're not going to do it. We're not going to risk a torn ACL or a torn Achilles for somebody, in the summer before a season. So no, thank you. But I think it would be great for the game. Look how much a benefit and a boost for basketball the United States of America's
This is
roster was in these Olympics.
If the NFL is smart, and I believe the NFL happens to be smart, Jeeps, they're going to go and say that exact same thing. Because where is the next vein for them to tap? Where's the next ore mine for them? It's global. What better way to make your game global than to have your stars go global, right? To have games that are broadcast to the world. Now, you can't do the regular season NFL type stuff, but the next best thing is take some of your stars and put them in this thing and have them dominate. Absolutely, that would be a catalyst for, hey, come see Olympic hero, I'm just making this one up, Olympic hero Tyreek Hill when they play in Barcelona next year. I'm just making up a game that could happen. Is it come see them in the Rhine, Germany? It'll be a great time. Or whatever. That's what you do. I would love it. I don't know if that'll happen, but I would love that.
Yeah, I hope it happens. I think it would be great for the sport. You're right. It is a priority right now for the National Football League to spread their tentacles internationally. That goes without saying. Just look at the Madrid-Spain game Washington's playing in and the amount of these games internationally that are happening. So there's some want to there, but the fear of an injury in football, I think, is just so substantial.
Oh, without a doubt.
And even in basketball, a contact sport, it's not that common that serious injuries, and I say this right after Jason Tatum ruptured an Achilles, but in those international games, I can't really think of examples where we've seen that. This would be the risk of it's one false step, it's one non-contact injury, and we're talking about the best players in the league participating, and it's skill guys. It's Justin Jefferson making $35 million, Tyreek Hill making $28 million. Patrick Mahomes wants to quarterback the thing. What if one guy falls at your legs? I just don't see teams wanting their guys to do it. But I'll be monitoring this closely because I think it would be amazing to watch those guys playing flag football. All right, next on Grant and Danny, we've got our Caps to score a goal draft. We'll get you ready for puck drop. It is Game 5 tonight for the Caps and the Canes out here at Capital One Arena. A Carolina win and the season ends. But if Washington can get a dub, they're going back to Raleigh with a chance to force a Game 7, a monumental night on 7th and F Streets. Grant and Danny taking you up to pregame at 6:30 right here on The Fan.
I'm Toby Altizer with your sports update on the Fan, and this update is brought to you by the DC Defenders. Do or die for the Caps tonight. Game 5, elimination game. The Capitals taking on the Hurricanes. The Canes lead the series 3-1. The Caps looking to stave off elimination tonight. 7 p.m. puck drop. You can hear the game right here on the Fan. In baseball, the Nationals fell once again, losing 3 of 4 to the Braves. They lose 5-2 earlier today. That's 8 of their last 9 games that they've lost. They continue their road trip, taking on the Orioles tomorrow in Baltimore for the first of 3. Taking a look at the leaderboard at the PGA Championship, and our golf coverage is presented by Golfdom. Golfdom is fully stocked with all the latest equipment, apparel, shoes, and accessories. Visit Golfdom in Tysons, Annapolis, or Rockville. Golfdom by Worldwide Golf. Get there. Atop the leaderboard at 6 under par is Cam Davis, who is through 17 holes today. Ryan Gerard in solo second at 5 under par. He's finished with the day shooting and opening around 66 at Quail Hollow. Also at 4 under par, tied for third, are Luke Donald, Ryan Fox, Alex Smalley, and Steven Yeager. Scotty Scheffler shot a 2 under 69 in his first round of play today. In the NBA tonight, Thunder and Nuggets, Game 6 of that series at 8:30. Oklahoma City leads the series 3-2, looking to close it out tonight. The DC Defenders are back at Audi Field this Sunday at noon, and your time to experience football at Audi Field is running out with 2 home games left in the season. Now is the time to lock in your seats at ufldefenders.com/tickets. That's ufldefenders.com/tickets. From the Crop Metcalf 5-Star Sports Desk, I'm Toby Altizer on the Fan.
Live from the main concourse, Capital One Arena, sections 103 and 104, right next to the Poppin' Popcorn. We are your pals, G and D, and we are taking you up to pregame at 6:30. Puck drop is about an hour and 5 minutes away. Capitals looking to stave off elimination and save their season. Get a win tonight. You're down 3-2 in this best of 7. You're headed to Raleigh, and you're 1 win away from even footing and forcing a 7th game right here at Capital One Arena. Now, I know it seems overly optimistic the way the series has played out, but facts are facts. And of the 58 times in sports history, a team down 3-1 has come back to win a series 4-3. 31 times it's happened in the National Hockey League.
That's right.
More than we'd like to admit, the Capitals have been involved in some of those series, including twice when they have been the team to come back and erase the 3-1 deficit. So it does happen. It can happen. But you got to win this home game first to even give yourself a shot. And if we're being honest, this should be the easiest one to win. Because
if there is one, yeah.
There's desperation setting in. Your back's against the wall. You get to throw the kitchen sink, and you got the crowd behind you. While if you're Carolina, you'd like to put this thing away, but there's just not the same urgency, aggressiveness, necessity to win this as there is for Washington.
We've been on the other side of this thing many times. We know that, right? We know what it feels like. We know what it sounds like. Where you're up and you can't step on the throat. It's really, really hard to close the team out. And then when you don't do it, it gets harder and harder and harder. If you win, I really believe this. If you win this game tonight, the pressure then goes to Carolina because you had the commanding lead. And now you can start to do the math in your head. You do the equation. You start to feel it potentially slip away. That's what we've gone through on the other side, being up 3-1. Losing that game 5, and then it's, oh, crap. Now the avalanche starts, or the snowball turns into an avalanche, and it goes downhill.
Caps are making some major adjustments in this game tonight. Lines are going to look very, very different. Alex Ovechkin, Dylan Strome, and Anthony Beauvillier on the top line. Beauvillier coming up from the bottom line to the top line to help make an impact this evening. He is going to skate with Ovechkin, with Strome. The reason there's an opening on the top line is because in the bottom 6, there are major changes being made. Third line, Connor McMichael is now centering. Lars Eller is out. Fourth line is going to be Duhaime, Dowden, Radish. That's the fourth line that was traditionally excellent for the Capitals all year long. But Mangiapane, McMichael, Leonard, that is your brand new third line. Tons of speed. Best skating line you're going to see all season for this team in terms of speed. They are undersized, but they're going to try to match speed for speed with that group.
Yeah, I was all about this. This is what's needed. What's missing? What's the struggle? This is what you're trying to solve. You're going to give something up there, right? You're not going to be as good defensively with that line. I'll worry about that in the next game, right, where you don't have last change. You can't control the matchups as well. To me, this is a change that was in desperate need of being made. It's not ideal that you don't dance with the one that brung you or you looks panicky. I don't care about any of that. This is do or die time. They were getting so little, and really all year long, they haven't gotten much out of that third line. But they were getting so little from that group, and Lars Eller was at the center of it, no pun intended, that to me a change absolutely positively had to be made. And I'm glad they did that. I mean, again, if you're going to go down, let's go down, with every lever pulled at our disposal. And that to me made a lot of sense. I know it caused a cascade effect where there's a lot of shuffling and shifting in some of the other lines. But to me, this is really about how bad Lars Eller was with, I think, one shot the entire series. And if he was a juggernaut defensively and they weren't getting any scoring chances with him on the ice, I think twice. But that's not the case.
Beauvillier, stud against Montreal. And he did it as part of the top trio with Ovi and Strome. He has not played at nearly that same level. And I think it's largely because Protas came back. He got forced down into the bottom six, but they'll hope to recapture some of that magic. He's also had some bad luck and just some bad moments. He's had an empty net. He's had 2 or 3 should-have-been goals that weren't, and that's gone around in this series. But I'd say if you're looking at overall, like expected goal, puck luck, bad luck, he's probably at the top of the list. The one guy I would highlight is saying more than anybody else offensively they need more out of is Dylan Strome. He had 9 points in the first series against the Canadiens. 9 in 5 games and 4 wins. He has had 1 point in this series against Carolina. He's been completely neutralized. They've got to get more out of him. My runner-up would probably be Pierre-Luc Dubois. And I'm not as frustrated by PLD's performance in this series because I think he's mostly been outstanding defensively, and they've done a really good job as a line matching up with Sebastian Aho a bunch. But you still have to get something out of him. 0 goals in the playoffs. I think he's got just 3 points this postseason. And I would have told you coming in through 9 games, if that was the case, they'd be in a little bit of trouble.
And here we are. I think that's a good one. I mean, a lot of it is you're stuck on the defensive zone draws or you're matching up, playing matchup with their best offensive line, et cetera. So you may not get the high-flying offensive production that you'd expect. Strome is the name that I would point to. They need more out of that top line. Whoever's skating with Dylan Strome, they need some goals this evening, I think, to kind of get what you want for the rest of the series.
All right, so giving you the lines again, as we expect them to look tonight, based on skate yesterday. Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier up top. Bovey, the major change there. Protas, Dubois, Wilson, your second line. They skated together for so much of this season. That is as big a line as there is in the National Hockey League.
Yeah, you want to play your heavy game? There it is.
Right.
Let's get the puck deep and start wailing on
But
people.
they can also skate. It's not like it's just 3 huge, big rigs, right? These are dudes that are huge, but that have some skating ability, can get up and down the ice.
They got to be great tonight.
Love that line. Then you got your speed line we already talked about. Mangiapane and Leonard centered by McMichael. Different position for him. And then at the bottom of the rotation, a line that I think is actually going to play a bunch. It's the 4th line in name only. Dowd, Duhaime, and Radish, who's been, consistent line for them all year long in one of their best trios. So look for that triumvirate to make a big impact tonight. All right, without further ado, it is time for our Capital to Score a Goal draft. Let's take our first peek at the scoreboard here. Darius, update it. Could be the final time we play, so things are getting tight atop the scoreboard. What are we looking at?
Yes, indeed. Ryan has climbed back into it and tied me at the top with 8 goals apiece. So me and Ryan are at the top with 8 goals apiece. Grant, you are sandwiched in the middle with just 4 goals. And Danny and Toby are tied for last with 2 goals. Toby getting 1 goal last game to tie Danny.
You don't want to finish last in the Capital to Score a Goal challenge. So Toby and Danny trying to stay out of the basement. Darius and Ryan tied at the top trying to win this thing. All right, Danny, you watch me. I got the randomizer ready to go.
You got it, yep.
That is the first. That is the second randomization. This will be the third and the final randomization. Our draft order tonight is with the number 1 pick, Danny Hutae. Toby Altizer, second off the board this evening. I will have pick number 3. Ryan, you are picking 4th. And Darius Dad Dameron, you've got the snake. You will pick 5th and 6th. You were in the catbird seat, my friend, to get a couple of top skaters. So without further ado, Danny, you will kick us off. You've got 2 goals this postseason, tied for 3rd place. How will you begin the Capital to Score a Goal challenge?
I have been mathematically eliminated. If there are 5 goals tonight and I get all 5 of them, I'm still not winning this thing.
Well, not if they come back and win the series.
So what I'm going to be doing here is when I take Ovechkin, he doesn't score. When I take Tom Wilson, he doesn't score. When I take Dylan Strome, he doesn't score. I'm going to be selecting my favorite Capitals from my lifetime. We'll start here, Darius. The pick is in. I'd like to take one of my favorite centers from the Washington Capitals, played from 1980 to 1989. Give me Bent Gustafson with my first overall selection. The Swede, Bent Gustafsson.
But he doesn't play on the current Capitals.
That is correct. So I can't curse anybody.
You're also
I can't
not,
prevent them from scoring tonight.
okay, but you're not eliminated. You say you're eliminated.
It is over for me, Johnny.
No, not if they come back and they win
I'm aware of the
and they
information.
go to the next round.
Sure. We'll deal with that then. When I pick a player they don't score, I'm not picking any current players to ruin their time.
Can I offer you another suggestion?
Sure.
Could you just take defensemen that don't score anyway that actually play for the Capitals?
I don't want to eliminate them from scoring. I want to make
Okay.
sure that I'm not hurting anybody's chances.
All right. When you guys get a radio show, I hope you get to do it with someone that sandbags every ongoing bit that you have on the air. All right. So Danny will take a Capital from decades ago. Very good. Toby, you have the second pick in the Grant and Danny to score a goal challenge.
Yeah, for the record, the reason what Danny's doing is the reason that we have a draft lottery. We don't want people just, tanking on purpose.
Right.
But with that, the pick is in. I'm glad that Danny took someone off the board because, I'm fighting not to get last. And so it doesn't seem like I'm going to have much competition from Danny. So I'm going to take the greatest goal scorer in the history of Team Toby, Jacob Chikrin, who's giving me my 2 goals.
Swerve. Chicky's off the board. Is Chicky giving you both of your goals in the Cap to score a goal challenge?
Chikrin has given me both of my goals, so I'm going to go back to that well. Let's go, Chicky.
Stay hot, Toby.
Team Chicky.
I wanted Bent Gustafsson, and he's not available, unfortunately. So I guess now that I'm on the clock, you think I'm going to go Ovi? I probably should. Maybe thinking power play, he gets going at home. Not going to do that, though. I will be going with the big fella. Number 43, Joe B. Tom Wilson is my pick. I don't know that he scores on the power play. I could see a rush job. I could see an even strength snipe from Tom Wilson beating Freddie Anderson tonight. Pick number 3, Tom Wilson is off the board.
This is insane. The pick is in. I'm going to get the greatest goal scorer of all time, Alex Ovechkin. I know he's had a slow series. I think tonight with rocking the red here, I see a lot of Capitals fans here right now. I think Alex Ovechkin gets it done. I think he scores tonight and gets this thing going. Alex Ovechkin, 4th overall. I'll take that any day.
Good value, Clary.
That's
you just
great
sit there
value
and
right
you let
there.
him fall into your lap. Darius now has picks 5 and 6, the Snake, in the Capital to score a goal challenge ahead of this Game 5. Got to have it tilt. Darius, who you taking to round out the first round?
We couldn't be more thrilled. We're actually so thrilled. We're just going to go ahead and do the pick is in sounder twice. There it is. We are taking, with our back-to-back picks, we're going to go with Connor McMichael, and we're going to go with Alexi Protas. We're just going to, you guys are just going to give me 2, 30-plus goal scorers, and we'll just take it.
You got the 2 studs. You got a 30-goal guy in Protas. You got a 25-plus goal guy in McMichael, who was hunting 30 at the end of the year. You got the 2 young players that made the biggest leap. You're represented on lines 2 and 3. You're feeling good about yourself, Dad.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. We are taking the lead right out of your hands, Ryan Clary.
That's the hope, by the way, is those 2 lines tonight. I think
Yes.
are going to have to be a factor. And the reshuffled McMichael at center, if that pot's a goal, that would be a boon for the local boys.
So Ryan and Darius are vying for a win here. If it ends tonight, and I mean the series and the challenge, then whoever has more goals wins this thing. Clary started with Ovi. Darius came back with McMichael and Protas. This is a huge spot for you now, Ryan. Who's going to be the second player skating for you?
The pick is in. Anthony Beauvillier. I'm going to go with this guy. I feel like I've had him on my team like a couple
You've had him a
times now.
bunch, yeah.
At this point, he's been a little whisper quiet this series, but I think tonight we're going to get back on the board. We're going to get this train back on the tracks, and we're going to score a goal tonight in front of the home crowd. Give me Beauvillier.
Attaboy. Bovey, top line. Clary's got him scoring. Number 2 on his line. All right, I will be taking the next pick, and with the 3rd pick of the second round, I'm going to take Dylan Strome. Strome has not scored in this series. He has just the 1 point in this series. He has been library quiet so far against Carolina. I don't think that continues. He was the points leader for the Capitals all regular season, point per game player. He had an awesome round, 1 round to go. Stromer gets off the Schneid tonight. I think he scores a goal. Give me Dylan Strome, which gets us back to Toby at pick number 2.
The pick is in. This might be a little bit of a reach. I think Mel Kiper would be frustrated. I'm not going with more obvious choices, but I'm going to go with Ryan Leonard getting it done with some speed on his line finally. Give me Ryan Leonard.
I like that one.
Little kid Leno.
I like that one with the new line.
Opportunity to skate with McMichael. All right, there are a bunch of quality options available. Danny's got a snake coming up here. Now, he's going all-time Capitals or some wacky bit. So we don't have to worry about him taking any of the guys that could actually score a goal.
I will not be poisoning the waters for anybody with this pick. The pick is in. I loved his 200-foot game. Give me classic Capital, former center from 87 through 99, Michael Pavanka. Come on down to the squad. Miss you, buddy. And I'm right back on the clock with the third pick. For me, the final pick, or the last pick, rather. Or the first pick of this last round. That's what I was trying to say. Good for me to be able to say it. With that said, the pick is in. Mike Ridley, come on down. Delightful playmaking center, two-way player, a star. I love you, buddy, and I miss you. Played with you in NHL 94 1,000,001 times with Don Beaupre in goal. You would pass it back to Al Iafredi, who would break the glass with a slap shot, and I would show my neighborhood friends that I knew what I was doing.
Brings us back to Toby and pick number 2. This is your Capital to score a goal challenge. He's got Jacob Chikrin, who's gotten him both of the goals in the playoffs. He's got little kid Leno, Ryan Leonard, finally skating with some speed, and Connor McMichael. Toby, who is rounding out your line tonight?
The pick is in. I'm going to go back to a familiar blue liner. I've only had him once, so I'm going to pass on Rasmus Sandin. I'm going to go with John Carlson, scoring on a little backdoor play on the power play tonight. Give me John Carlson.
Captain
Did he score for you when he scored? Or was that for Ryan?
That was for Ryan.
For
Ryan.
That was for me.
All right, so he's got 2 defensemen. He's going with the Chikrin, Carlson, Leonard trio. I've got Tom Wilson and Dylan Strome. I am ready to round out my trio for the night. I guess you could say I'm going do theory because I'm going with another guy who's been a no-show offensively for the most part.
Got to have it.
Pierre-Luc Dubois. It is time for PLD to tickle some twine. It's got to happen. He's been very good defensively. Last change, they can do some things tonight to get him some more favorable matchups. I just think there's going to be, with that size, that Protas, Wilson, Dubois line, there's got to be something grimy. There's got to be some traffic in front kind of goal where somebody redirects something.
Well, it feels like there's your line that gets a forecheck going. Maybe the long stick of Protas bothers somebody, or Tom Wilson throws a hit and knocks somebody the next week. And maybe that pressure that we've been hearing so much about finally goes back to Carolina a little bit, get a turnover, maybe he finally pots one. They could use it.
Ryan, you had Alex Ovechkin with the 4th pick.
Yeah.
One of the great steals of all time. You took Anthony Beauvillier back on the top line, trying to get his Montreal game going. And now you get to round out your triumvirate.
And the pick is in. Andrew Mangiapane. I'm going to go with the guy who has not scored a goal since Game 4 against Montreal. He has been whisper quiet so far this series offensively. But I will say this. I just got a feeling, man. I just got a feeling. I wasn't going to go TVR just to screw over Darius because I know he's going to take him here next. But I'm going to go with Mangiapane. That's my guy tonight.
Mangiapane, speed line, rush chance. Let's light the lamp. Let's
do it.
High, bar down. Let's relive the biggest goal scored by a Capital in the playoffs.
I wonder how much that line's going to be on the ice tonight, because that basically Mangiapane's average around 11 minutes of ice time with the third line in its previous iteration. Well, that's not the previous iteration anymore.
They'll be on the ice the least, I would think.
Yeah.
The only pushback against that might be McMichael's arguably been their best player, like in this series. Him and Wilson, to me, have been their 2 best players maybe of the postseason offensively. And if that's the case, then you can't have McMichael only play 11 or 12 minutes. Do you double shift McMichael with a couple of lines? Do you skate him maybe on the wing with Ovi and Strome or something wild? I don't know. But you're not only going to play McMichael 10, 11, 12 minutes. So that's why I think, maybe there's going to be more ice time for those guys than we think. Because Leonard similarly has been in that range.
I mean, he's been sub 10 minutes basically, right? I mean, I think that goes up if it's 12, 13 minutes, 14 minutes maybe is, you're closer to a true third line. But we'll see. You already pointed out that down line is going to be on the ice a lot.
Always are. I mean, they call it their 4th line,
but it's not.
It's their 3rd most used line all season. All right, let's get to Darius to finish our draft then. He and Ryan both have 8 goals. Somebody edges out the other tonight, they're going to win this challenge if the series ends. Ryan's got Ovi, Bavillier, and Mangiapane. Darius is working with McMichael, Protus, and who else?
Contrary to what Ryan believes, I am not taking Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Instead, I'm taking the People's Center, and that'll be Nick Dowd. Nick Dowd, I'll be picking you off the fourth line. More, we might as well just say it's the third line, but I will be picking Nick Dowd to add to the rounding out the team.
Give me Dowder's first playoff goal this postseason, right here and right now. No better time than the present to get that done. All right, I like it. Danny, give us our trios.
Danny, Ben Gustafson, Michael Pavanko, Michael Ridley. Shout out to the past. Toby, Jacob Chikrin, Ryan Leonard, John Carlson, Grant, Tom Wilson, Dylan Strome, and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Ryan, Ovi, Anthony Bavillier, and Andrew Mangiapane. Christian Darrisaw, Connor McMichael, Alexi Protus, and Nick Dowd.
All of our Caps playoff coverage in these drafts are brought to you by Ace Trim Carpentry. For over 25 years, Ace Trim's been a trusted trade partner for new home builders in the DMV. They specialize in full-service interior trim carpentry, and they handle everything from supply to installation, turnkey, and hassle-free. Contact acetrim.com today. Ace Trim, the home builders trade partner. Let's give you your Capitals player to lock in on tonight. This is presented by our friends at Baldino's Lock and Key. Capitals player to lock in on, presented by Baldino's Lock and Key. Baldino's Lock and Key, your hometown security team since 1961.
I could pick a dozen guys here tonight, GP, but I'll start here. Connor McMichael, guy we were just talking about, have shifted positions. He's been their most consistent offensive player this postseason, I would say. Was great in the Montreal series, decent enough, plus enough, I think, in this one. They haven't had much offense to come by. Moving to center, he has played there plenty, but hasn't done that in a minute. He'll be at the center spot on that third line, call it the third and a half line. I don't know how you want to dice it up, but moving there in place of Lars Eller, can you still be defensively accountable? Can they get more out of Leonard, Mangiapane, and McMichael kind of sustain his production as well? So to me, that's a huge one because that's the gamble. That's the shift that Coach Carberry is going with here with this game for a team that's down 3-1 in desperate need of something. So I'll go McMichael as my guy to lock in on.
Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson in games 1 and 2 of this series was excellent at home. In games 3 and 4 on the road, he was not nearly as good. He made 31 saves in game 1 and almost stole the damn thing. They went to overtime despite getting outplayed at a .939 save percentage. He made 27 saves on 28 shots in game 2, a series best .964 save percentage that night. But then in games 3 and 4, allowed a couple of goals that are uncharacteristically pedestrian for him. You know, goals that normally are stops. He ended up allowing 8 goals in 2 games in Raleigh. And while they weren't all his fault, and you just look at 37 shots against in game 4, that's way too many. It wasn't a him problem as much as an everybody problem. It is true to say that he was fantastic in 2 home games, and then he was not at the same level in 2 road games. So with that in mind, I think all eyes for me are on Logan Thompson. He's got to shine. When they get as many shots and as much puck possession as they do, and that's what they've done all year long, it's not always good quality shots, but it's shots that make you work.
It's just that constant probing and bothering. Yeah.
You can't be leaning. You can't not see a puck through traffic. You can't give up a softie that goes off your shoulder and gets banged home on a rebound. This type of stuff that was happening in Raleigh. So I will be locking in on Logan Thompson. They need him to get back to playing like he did in the first couple of games. That'll be our my player to lock in on, presented by Baldino's Lock and Key. Danny, what's your prediction before we get out of here?
This one feels I'll tell you what, it's hard to actually understand. It's hard to actually comprehend that this is the position the Capitals are in. They were so good this season. It felt like it was going to be different, and this has kind of slowly descended down the mountainside here for a moment, right? As the Capitals are in a position we're not used to them being in. It feels like they got one more rebound in them. It feels like they've got one more time to get off the mat. I still don't think they win this series, and I don't want to say that's okay. It's disappointing and it's a bummer. I think they win tonight. I think this is one of those you can't kill this group that easy. They're not. Does this seem like a team that's going to lose 4-1 to you, given the way that they've responded to everything all year long? What's gone on the last several seasons, gone through this record chase, missing a player here and there. They have always found a way to respond. So this feels to me like one more win before they go quietly into the night. I think ultimately maybe their season ends there in Raleigh. But to me, I think they win this one. It feels like a 4-2 with an empty netter at the end of the game.
I like their process in games like this. I like that they've answered all year long. I like that they don't lose 3 games in a row but once this season. I like that they scratch, they claw, they fight. When their back's against the wall, they answer the bell. They have every step of the way. Yep. They weren't supposed to be here. Do they win tonight? I don't know. It's a silly game. Bounces happen. Maybe Rasmus Sandin's stick gets caught in the boards, and somehow
that could never happen.
That turns into a Carolina goal. But I think they're going to play well. I think they're going to come out and they're going to give themselves a chance. And if that happens, I'll take my chances with this group, pushing this thing back and extending this, just a couple of days. So let's hope we are talking again tomorrow about a win and about a game 6 coming up in Raleigh on Saturday. With that in mind, let's go play hockey. John Walton's got your pregame show coming up at the bottom of the hour, and then puck drop a little bit after 7 o'clock here on The Fan. Big thanks to Darius and Toby back in studio. By the way, shout out to the fellows from the Caps team store.
Yeah.
We dropped off a couple of hats and gear that were listening to the show.
Very neat, man.
Toby's going to get a couple of these hats coming back to the studio. Him and Ryan got some new gear. Got a nice little OV chain that somebody's going to be rocking. So thanks to the Caps team store for dropping those off. Go get your gear there. For Danny, I'm Grant saying so long. We appreciate you. Enjoy the matchup tonight.
Thank you for coming.